Wake up. Can
Spirits, yeah.
anybody? Yeah. What was my line?
So, oh, I can hear it now if you just change something.
Thing. Now we're going to try the second thing. Does this change anything for you guys at home? Can you hear me now too? Looks like it should be able to.
Yep.
Fantastic. um, so hi for those people watching. First of all, of course, Damon's better half, who pointed out that the audio was not working on the stream. Thank you very much for that. That said, again, so quick recap. My name is David. I have made this promise before in the other stream. I'm going to improve by 1% every week. And now that's good. The benchmark for this one is have audio working at the beginning of the session next week. Super excited about that. David is the name. I work with the Polyhedra team. We're just a group of DMs that like to bring professional games to people. The audio streaming thing is definitely something that I'm still getting used to and getting better at. So that's something that I'm working on. I am incredibly appreciative of the patience that each one of these 6 players that are with me here today have exhibited, even in the first 5 minutes of us trying to get the stream going. What we had said so far that was really fun was, we did introductions. Andrew and Brian did say the most amazing things. Really, it probably should have gotten some kind of an award, but now you guys will never hear the top-notch quality of the acting that they put into this. So instead, we're going to go with
B-grade stuff.
Now it's going to be the B-grade stuff. But hey, at least the pressure is off. You have already rocked our socks off, Andrew, with what you said before. But would you mind introducing yourself again? Sorry.
Sure. My name's Andrew. I'm Australian. I've been playing D&D and consuming D&D for about 6 or 7 years. I love it. It's creative collaboration is my joy. It really is something that I hope to be doing for a long time.
Alrighty. Thank you so much, Andrew. For the second time, up next we have Brian. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what is it that draws you to D&D?
I love the storytelling and role-playing aspects of it, the epic storytelling.
Get the fuck off my table right now.
Setting.
I love that Justin actually kind of looks towards you because of how the images are. And everybody at home can hear you yelling at your fur babies too, Justin, so keep that in mind.
Sorry.
You're going to have to tell us all about your fur babies in a second. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay.
I love the sort of like epic storytelling aspect of it, and being able to do that collaboratively makes that much more fun. I've been playing D&D for a couple of years. I've been playing 5th edition for probably 2 years now, and I play in a couple of campaigns with David, and they've been really exciting.
Awesome, thank you so much. All right, up next we have Mr. Fur Baby. Justin, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what is it that drew you to D&D in the first place?
I mean, honestly, the thing that drew D&D to me was just I was in 6th grade, and one of my friends just thought it would be a cool idea, and he told me I could make a necromancer, and so it was just like cracking open a cold one, say no more, and it just kind of went off from there. I mean, who the fuck wants to sit there and just play a
necromancer?
Right? I mean, honestly, who wants to sit there and play a people? I mean, I'm already a people in real life. That was like one of my biggest issues with World of Warcraft and the Alliance and whatnot. Like, half of the races are all people. Even the Worgans, they can turn into people when they're out of combat. Like, what? Where's the fantasy in that? So I just like the fact that like D&D can be like a complete escape, and it brings people together. And I guess David wanted me to say something about my fur baby, so they'll probably be making special guest appearances. I feel like everybody's favorite is going to be Moira. She has one eye, and she's Pirate Kitty, and also Witch Kitty and Bitch Kitty. So.
Roger that. And yeah, I gotta second that. And also, you guys at home can probably guess what Justin is going to be playing. Just a plain variant human, like most people would choose, right? Up next, we've got Damon. Damon, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and what is the thing that draws you to D&D?
I'm Damon. I think I'm the old man of the group. I first read the Forgotten Realms novel Pool of Radiance in 1991 and started playing D&D in 1992. And I know at least one person on this stream wasn't even born yet, so maybe more than that. But I grew up in a small town and didn't get to travel much and didn't get to see much, so D&D for me was how I saw the places other than where I lived. Maybe they weren't the real world, but they were other places and other things. And yeah, just I love the creativity. I love the stepping into something else's shoes. I've spent most of the last 30 years DMing, but it's always nice to step out from behind the screen and just settle into one character.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, thank you so much, Damon. Up next, we've got Alex. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what is it that you appreciate about D&D, except for really, really high 46 drop lowest rolls.
Yeah, so my name's Alex. I've been playing D&D for about a year now. Probably a little bit less. And I think what kind of like first drew me to D&D was just kind of like the fantasy aspect of it. I really like getting into a game where like there's almost anything possible, right? All the magic, right? I really love that aspect of it. So it's really kind of like the fantasy and the magic, and kind of going along with the escapism route as well. So.
For sure, yeah, same, 100% the escapism. This D&D has kept me sane these last few years and through law school. But next up, we have Tyler again. Welcome to our community. For you guys watching at home, I think I had mentioned that before, but that is now lost to the void of no audio. Tyler is brand new to our community, our little community of Polyhedra, and so welcome to the game. This is going to be interesting for him because he's joining not only the campaign but a stream right off the bat. So it'll be interesting. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what is the thing that draws you to D&D.
My name's Tyler. I live in Colorado. I've been playing D&D on and off probably 3-ish years with, multiple hiatuses in between from just ended groups and lost groups. I think the thing that drew me to D&D was probably the fantasy aspect and the fact that it made magic real and spells real and all of that cool stuff that we don't actually get can actually be a thing now. I think that's what drew me into it the most.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess at the end I made all 6 of them do this silly icebreaker. I guess it'll be my turn next. So, like I said before, David, I'm originally from Germany. You will very likely hear that accent throughout this stream, especially when I get excited or very... Yeah, exactly, right? But I've actually worked very hard on trying to hide my accent as much as possible, but it will shine through when it gets real dire for the group. This session when they're all going to be passed out, it's going to be a TPKO. That's when my German is going to shine through.
Just give the ladies and the gays what they want.
Yeah, that would be probably a Brazilian accent. I don't know. Anything but a German accent. I can tell you that. If there's one accent that is not attractive on this world, it's probably the German accent. I gotta say. What was that, Damon, again? What's the meme?
Tell your family you love them because life is short, but scream it at them in a German accent because it's also scary.
Exactly. That's pretty much how my daughter feels, I guess, most days when I try to speak German with her. Whew. But for me, D&D, interestingly enough, has actually been around for quite some time. Now, the scene was not really there to the same level. I think other countries had it similarly, where D&D was something that existed, but what was much more popular was Magic the Gathering. So I was kind of exposed to Wizards of the Coast intellectual property, but not in the same way. So what I did was actually play the old Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale games. Icewind Dale 2 was actually the first video game that I really got into that had D&D into it, and I fell in love. Nice. I played through that game like 5 times, I think. It was just eye-opening. And for me as a kid that had a hard time in high school, which in Germany, by the way, high school starts at 5th grade. We don't have that little middle school thing that you guys have going on here. It was just that same thing, that escapism, that place that I could go to in order to do whatever I wanted to. And so years and years passed by. I did an exchange here, and during that year, I actually ended up picking up the Drizzt series and read through, I think, 10 or 12 books during that year that I was here, plus the Spider Queen War series, and I absolutely fell in love. But still, years and years passed by that I didn't actually play active D&D. And then 5th edition came out, and I was like, oh. And in between, I even played Dungeons & Dragons Online, for those of you people that might have heard of that little WoW clone before. It's a game. It's definitely a game, and I have spent many an hour on that. But yeah, so DDO exposed me to Eberron, for example, and whatever weird magic system they came up with. But so finally, I was like, well, I've been a nerd all my life. I should probably pick this up. So I started playing 5th edition, and of course, immediately, because I was the one that suggested it to my friends, I became the Forever DM and stayed the Forever DM. And I will probably die a Forever DM, truly living up to the title of Forever DM. But that is also what led me ultimately to found Polyhedra, to have this community, and I cannot express, and this is something that I say even in non-streaming games, how appreciative I am of the community and each one of you guys, each one of you players for being part of it and playing make-believe. I mean, it's the best form of escapism I have been able to find so far that is legal, and in that vein, that's how I came into D&D. That's how I fell in love with D&D, and I am excited to be delving into this storyline on Odyssey of the Dragonlords. Now, for the people watching at home, or let's say, for example, if you are someone who is still kind of on the fence of what should I run, what kind of a setting would be interesting, what is really cool about Odyssey of the Dragonlords is not only the lore, but also all of the harkening back to the Greek mythology. If you're even just superficially familiar with Greek mythology, you will see that there's quite a few truly phenomenal things about this storyline. And as we all delve into this, we're actually going to see little vignettes of each one of the characters as they grew up in this world, this island of Thylia. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the world before we even dive into these characters.
David?
Yeah.
You can update the title of the stream also.
Oh, yeah.
And you might make sense to put like an episode 1 in there, just in case people want to catch the first one.
Smart. I should definitely do that. You're right.
We're up to 2% improvement now.
Hey, Brian already deserves... Here, throw that inspiration point on good old Ro. Alrighty. Like I said, so new to streaming. It'll be fun when I can actually do this smoothly and don't even have to think about it. But as you guys are now watching the first episode of Season 1 of Polyhedra Plays, Odyssey of the Dragonlords, as we're going in. Now, imagine with me the dawn of time. Maybe even just a little bit after that. As you have a war that ravages this plane. You have godly entities, deities that are flinging whatever chaotic energy they can form into whatever they will at each other. A war that is ravaging the land itself, the sea, the sky, and everything in between. Every piece of the different domains and portfolios that these gods wield is brought to bear in a war that shakes the very foundation of reality. As you guys watch these gods kill each other, murder each other, find different ways to cripple each other and lock each other away, there's one goddess that feels every blow, every hatred, everything that is done against her brothers and sisters. That goddess is Thylia. A goddess that feels the very nature of existence itself, of life thriving forth. She turns away as her brothers and sisters approach her to wage war against her other siblings and says, enough is enough. As she starts wading from land to sea, wading through the ocean, parting waves before her, her tears streaming down and becoming part of the very ocean. Now, there was only one other that would go with her. Kitamane, the god of war of the ancient times, a truly destructive being, something that only could wrought absolute power upon anything to overwhelm it and overpower it, with the exception of Thylia. This sister goddess of his, the one that could truly soothe his mind, soothe his heart, was able to bring the 100-handed and 100-headed god peace. And so he decided to go with her into the ocean, away from the war, and towards a more peaceful future, to at least get away from all the insanity that the war of the different gods was bringing. until they waded into the ocean for what felt like an eon. But behind them, where they had come from, the war waged on, and Thalia's connection to the land, to existence, to life itself was too strong. Still, she felt every blow, even if it was slightly muted. It still completely filled her heart with absolute sorrow. And in that sorrow, Thalia decided that she could take no more. She plunged herself into the ocean, drowning herself, wanting to make the hardship, the pain, the suffering finally end. And as she did, Ketemane watched as his beloved's body floated on the ocean top, lifeless. He thrashed against the sea. The entire cloud cover above him just became a roiling storm. Lightning struck at the ocean, and in his anger, he missed. As the body of Thalia slowly changed, became earth itself, sprung rivers, mountains, valleys, and even trees and wooded areas all in between, as the island of Thalia was formed. And in its center, within what is now known as the Old Woods, a massive tree, a world tree, grew. That is when Ketemane finally let his anger abate. For he realized that even though his beloved had passed, there now was she again, reborn as something that he could live by, protect and shelter against the insanity that was the God War that they left. And so he became the sentinel of Thalia. After a time, he watched as the world tree started sprouting fruit. Huge golden apples, they appeared. As he approached, he plucked these beautiful apples from the tree and began eating them ravenously, cherishing the deliciousness, the nectar that Thalia had given to him. And the only thing that remained from these apples were little seedlings. He looked at them, scoffed, and in his might, his pure, just primal being of destruction, tried to crush them, but couldn't. Frustrated, he threw them in the ocean as they all sank. It was only when the blubbering behind him alerted him to some kind of a change that he had realized these seeds had pierced his skin. The blood of them mixed with the seeds themselves, and instead of the seeds bubbling back up out of the ocean, you had children stepping fully formed out of the waters. And Ketemane began to cry, for he realized those were his and Thalia's children. And as they stepped forth, Ketemane took it upon himself to teach these titans how to be the gods of Thalia. Now, the story goes that the titans for a while lived amongst one another, but quickly became bored, for there was not much excitement or randomness upon Thalia. So, they decided to create the first races, the Sylvans, the Fae folk, everything from satyrs all the way to nymphs. They had the land itself spring up and become sentient. They created rivers that could sing to them. They created birds that grew larger and larger and grew sentient. And overall, they finally created something that could worship them. But over time, as with many of these things, the Titans started bickering amongst one another, and a new war ensued. This time between the Titans. Now, Ketemane had sworn that he would protect Thalia. So long as the Titans only attacked one another, he would not interfere. He had no interest in being that kind of authoritarian father. And so the Titans waged war against one another until only the twin siblings, now husband and wife, Lutheria and Sidon, remained. Lutheria, the Maiden of Dreams, and Sidon, the Lord of Storms, the youngest of the Titans, had somehow, by combining their powers, figured out a scheme that rid Thylia of all the other Titans. No living mortal remembers exactly how that came to be, but here we are, in this day. Now, the story of Thylia did not end there, and nor does our story begin quite yet. For a time, Sidon and Lutheria lorded over the land of Thylia as the undisputed king and queen of gods, the mortals worshipping them in their abundant and wild ways. Until one day, the first survivor washed upon shore. A human, a halfling, an elf, a dwarf. Over time, more and more of these outsiders, odd, fair folk, as they called themselves, civilized people, started washing up upon the shores of Thylia. Now the Sylvan races, the first folk, did not look kindly upon these intruders and bashed their heads in whenever they saw them upon the shore, relentlessly pushing them back into the ocean to drown, again and again and again. These fair folk barely were able to get a foothold and try to get some of the other shipwrecked that would wash up on the shores of Thylia whenever that happened, until they finally turned towards the worship of Sidon and Lutheria, begging them to intervene. Sidon, more curiously and less caring, said, "Sure, give me sacrifice, and sacrifice to me and Lutheria only, and you shall have some protection." And so for a time, for millennia untold, those that would wash up on shore started to support and worship and sacrifice to Sidon and Lutheria, and a tentative peace was established between the fair folk and the first folk. That all changed the day the Dragonlords appeared. Now the Dragonlords were more fair folk from faraway lands that nobody knows exactly where they hail from. All that we know now is that these Dragonlords, these humans and elves and dwarfs, would be riding back the top of bronze dragons, metallic dragons overall, who were just completely unknown to the lands of Thylia, who were able to beat back the empire of the Gigans, cyclopes of immense intellect and power, who were able to drive back the roving clans, the tribes of the centaurs, in their ability to ride down any opponent in a cavalry charge unequaled by humans or any other fair folk alike. It was the Dragonlords that finally tipped the scales in the favor of the fair folk. And that became the first war. As this war raged on, the Gigans were driven to near extinction, and that is when Sidon and Lutheria stepped in, starting to crush mountains to throw at the dragons, had the sky itself crash and strike lightning into the hearts of the fair folk armies. Thylia itself started to shake and sunder and almost be torn in two, until everything stopped. All that is known now is that these first settlements that would become Mitros, Aresia, and the many islands all across the Cerulean Gulf had become more established. Mitros, the shining city, the heart of philosophy, poetry, and education, had a ship arrive in its harbor. A grievely, deadly wounded wizard by the name of Damon, no affiliation with our player, arrived with a massive golden wrought scroll. He handed it over to the king of Mitros at the time and declared that a truce had been achieved. In that time, as the Dragonlords had been vanquished, the dragons slain by the gods 5 entities descended from the sky, 5 gods who ultimately helped the fair folk gain an equal footing. They were Mitros, who ultimately became the namesake for the city. Mitros, a goddess of goodness and righteousness, gave her blessing to this oath of peace as it ultimately became known, and said that for the next 500 years, no more war was to be between the Sylvan races and the first settlers, as she ascended back up into heaven to oversee the righteousness of this. The other 4 gods, however, as divine and celestial as they are, still walk the land to this day. They're known as Kyra, the goddess of music, beauty, and art, who, in her fickleness, still travels the land wherever she sees fit. Pitor, the god of war, who led troops against the Fae folk for a while, and ultimately settled as the king of Estoria, far to the north, holding the line against centaurs, satyrs, goatmen, and other first men alike. Valis, the queen, or the queen of Mitros, but also the goddess of wisdom, who has taken most recently a king, a mortal, and rules the city of Mitros with him. And finally, Vulcan, the god of artifice and the forge, who is rumored to sometimes walk the steppes, walk the mountains, walk wherever he pleases, and when he feels so inclined, give presents to children. The gods walk the earth in Thalia. All the gods, except for Sidon and Lutheria. For when the Oath of Peace was entered into by them as well, the truce that was established, Sidon and Lutheria required just one more thing: that they would continue to be worshipped, sacrifice given to them. Every time there was a libation, some had to be poured out in the honor of Lutheria. Every day that a temple was built, another one had to be built to Sidon, and sacrifice be given to him. And so, some 5 centuries ago, the Oath of Peace was entered into, as we enter the current age. And in this current age, we find ourselves 500 years after the first entry of the Oath of Peace. Since that time, relations between the first folk and the fair folk have not exactly improved. Sure, there's a truce, but a Cold War has been raging where every once in a while a border dispute that was not exactly covered by a full first, or in this case what would be a second war to be breaking out between these 2 factions, would spark up. Disputes between the cities themselves, as Eresia launched multiple campaigns against Mitros to become the most powerful force in all of Thalia, known as the Eresian campaigns, was not dissuaded by the Oath of Peace. And so this land of poetry, warrior status, and godly destiny started to become used to this status. However, in the last few years, and in the years that our heroes were born or made, there was a prophecy that was starting to circulate. A prophecy given by the Oracle. The Oracle was proclaiming that when the time of the Oath of Peace came to an end, the apocalypsis would come to be. And when the apocalypsis came, Thalia would burn, crack, and drown into the sea. That Sidon and Lutheria would kill every mortal upon Thalia. And that the only way to avoid this is if a group of heroes, mortals, would rise to the challenge and challenge the gods themselves. And that is where we're going to pick it up this week. Welcome to Thalia, everybody. Alrighty. Now, as we're going to introduce the characters, like I said, we're going to go a little bit into their pasts, talk about who they are and how they came to be, how they started out, and ultimately how they arrived by the city of Mitros. Very much in the line of the Olympic Games of our world, they're the Great Games of Thylia. A time when all of the cities lay their wars aside, where even the first folk are invited into the territories of the first settlers and are invited to compete for glory, to compete to be the best that Thylia has to offer. However, we're not actually going to start out in Mitros. Oh no. Our journey is going to start in Eresia. Now, Eresia is an interesting sort of land, for Eresia is very much what you as the viewer at home or you as players could imagine to be Sparta. A warrior-like folk, people who value great deeds done. Even the nobles of Eresia like to claim that they disclaim their wealth and then give it to their servants. They like to live as bare-trodden lives as possible. And in this very strict warrior caste-like life, the life of an urchin can be very, very difficult. As we see a small humanoid form, tousled brown hair. Yanni, would you like to describe what you look like?
Yanni's a little halfling fella. As David said, tousled brown hair. He's approaching adulthood and has a bit of a chin strap beard. Mostly dresses in rags, whatever he can cobble together. He's lived on the streets his whole life. Yeah, that's him.
And we actually see as Yanni seems to be going over these interesting papyrus parchments before him. You see as with just soot chalk, he seems to have drawn out what appears to be a floor plan of sorts. He's going over it again and again and again. You see him do mental math, writing little numbers on the margins and going over it again and again and again, crossing out things, rewriting other things as the heist is certainly starting to come together. What is going through Yanni's head?
Just need to find me enough food or money to get by for a couple of weeks. That's just how I operate. Tired of this life. I want something better.
And something better has actually presented itself to you. Incidentally, you heard of some kind of big prize that is supposed to be held in some kind of domicile in Eresia. Some warlord acquired something from the Beyond lands, the lands that nobody can reach, for the Sea of Thylia presents itself as a wall of thunder, lightning, and fog that if any ship tries to cross through, immediately is either turned back or sinks to the bottom of the ocean. But this treasure, whatever it may be, is in this house of this warlord. And if you can just find out everything you need to pull this heist off, maybe you can sell that. Maybe you'll never have to be hungry again. How would you prepare for such a heist? What do you think Yanni would do?
Yanni's very cerebral. He probably would go over it from every angle he could think of, looking for potential flaws, potential opportunities. He's probably going to case the estate multiple times over the course of a couple of weeks leading up to it. This is a new concept for him. Normally he tries to only take enough to get by for a couple of days to weeks so that hopefully it won't be missed. But he knows that this is too good to pass up, and he's prepared to run away from Eresia once he gets it, if that's what it takes to stay alive.
So as you go around and you try to explore things, I'll actually have you kick us off with a roll. Go ahead and make me a perception check as you're trying to keep track of things.
Come on. I'm very average.
As you start to kind of keep track of it, you note down how many different
Oh, that's not right. Is that right? Oh yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. Never mind.
No, you good. You good.
I forgot I have a negative to start with. I was like, I have expertise in that.
Yeah, there's a
No,
reason
it's
you
right.
probably chose expertise in that.
There might be. There just
yeah.
might be.
So as you case out the joint, you actually see there's quite a bit of activity. It seems like the normal guard numbers of these warrior monks, as they're known in Aresia, true, like, most phenomenal phalanxes have been first invented in Aresia. That's kind of like the fighting style that you can imagine there. Long spears used in combat, and you're never of the stature to really fit into that life, so even military life was not a way out for you. But as you watch all of that stuff, you see there's quite a bit of hustle and bustle. But as you overhear some of the conversations, you hear there's going to be some kind of a banquet in the honor of the man that was able to acquire this prize, this warlord. And you think to yourself, that might be a way in. If I can just appear to be one of the servants, that could be my way in. As you take the next few weeks to prepare for that, go ahead and make me a deception with advantage check, as you have a certain spell that might help out with this. Ooh.
Ew. Wow. That was...
For those of you watching,
Getting them out early.
Damon is phenomenally good at somehow being able to roll some of the most heartbreaking rolls.
Yeah. I got all my good rolls in last night in the other game.
Yeah, I mean, they were phenomenal, though.
Yanni gets thrown in jail for...
All right, on to the backup character.
All right. So what happens is you actually watch some of the caterers for this big event, and as you, what would you say it looks like as Yanni kind of reaches inside of him and is able to kind of feel this little tintillating pull on the wave of magic itself?
Yanni doesn't know why he can do this, but he can make himself look like other humanoids around his own size. And it's a... he just kind of has to focus for a minute, and then he kind of just blurs into this new shape. Do you want me to cast it?
Sure thing.
He calls it his costume.
Alrighty, as your form kind of shimmers and reshapes, you are this beautiful elven man as you step forward, kind of like this red hair that tumbles down and actually turns white at the very tips. You look around and kind of like wide-eyed, you're trying to fit in, but as you walk into this life of splendor, these riches displayed, just gold plates hang on walls, fruit just set out for decorations and starting to wilt, you're just thinking to yourself, what is this inefficiency? What is it with this? Why are people like me living in the streets starving when others have so much? As you get a little bit of a tap on the shoulder from behind.
Hello?
Carrillos, you're a bit early. You're not supposed to be checking in until an hour from now. What are you doing here? As one of the guards.
I didn't want to be late.
Since you're in. Your voice seems... Are you alright?
Yeah, sorry, it's... My allergies are acting up. Getting into my lungs.
Well, get yourself to the kitchen. I'm sure you're going to be wanted soon.
I'm on my way.
Alrighty, as you try to look around and find the kitchen as quickly as you can, remembering the layout that you had drawn out, booking it directly there. You remember the path again to where you presume this to be. Likely to be in the sleeping chamber, or maybe in the sparring room. Where do you head?
Sorry, sleeping chamber or what?
The sparring room.
Ooh. Probably head towards the sparring room.
Alrighty. As you go into the sparring room, it is actually kind of like almost like an open concept, like enclosed courtyard. There's a massive sand pit in the middle of it, all of these hanging plants all around, and you see there just a young boy maybe about 12 or 14 years old, but still towering over you, well muscled despite his young age, just kind of like having this quarterstaff flinging it back and forth, sweat glistening upon his bronzed skin as he turns around towards you, these golden eyes looking back at you, and you can tell there must be a drop of the divine in him, probably one of the many children of Pitor. As he kind of looks at you questioningly, did father send you? I was just doing my practices. Are you the new instructor?
No. I'm the cook, and I got lost. Can you point me to the kitchen, please?
Sure, I can walk you.
Thank you.
As you start walking with him, an idea kind of occurs to you. It's like, maybe this is the child of the warlord. If anyone saw something funny, he would probably know.
I heard a rumor on the streets the other day that your pater came into a very interesting artifact of some sort, but nobody seems to know what it is. Is that true?
It's true, but he's boring. I was expecting some mythical weapon from the shores beyond, or at least something that is more interesting. Maybe even a weave of some sort. But no, it was just a book.
Book? Well,
yes.
Any good worshipper of Pitor wouldn't know what to do with that.
That's what I told my father, and he called me a fool and said I need to study more.
You look like you're getting pretty good with that staff. I'd keep going that route.
Thank you. Well, I should probably get ready for the evening's events. Well met. As he kind of bows towards you and walks away.
And thank you.
It's just like a little bit of a wave as he walks away from you.
Oh.
What's going through Yanni's mind? And what does he do next?
Yanni knows enough to know that books that draw attention usually have something to do with magic. That idea fascinates him. Is there anybody else here in the kitchen with me at the moment?
Oh yeah, there's lots of staff, hustle and bustle. You see all of them like wearing different kinds of toga-like outfits, like sheer but like actually silken outfits that are beautiful. Something much more nice than you would have ever expected someone to wear. And yeah, there's hustle bustle, probably close to almost 24 people carrying food and preparing things. You see a massive boar kind of on a spigot being turned around, more butter basted on top of it.
My stomach's probably rumbling.
Oh yeah.
Starving little street urchin. See if I can like palm a apple or something while nobody's looking.
Alrighty, yeah. You pick one up and you kind of like have that moment of just like, oh no, what if that is it? And nobody seems to pay attention. Nobody cares that you just took that apple.
Sweet. I'm gonna make my way towards the bedrooms, the sleeping chambers.
Alrighty.
And maybe nibble on an apple as I go.
All right. Now, as you walk up there, you do see that there's a pair of guards just kind of posted up. They're currently just looking incredibly bored. They have these large round shields that are just kind of propped up against the wall currently and are kind of like leaning on these like relatively, for some of the phalanx use, short spears. Just looking kind of bored around, haven't spotted you yet.
Hi fellas. I'm here to help.
Oh.
I'm here to help with the food. And they asked me to come check with the lady at the house about one of the dishes. There was a question about how she wanted something.
The lady is not here. Check downstairs.
Not. Okay, I will. Thank you.
Of course.
I'll turn around and walk away.
Make me an investigation check, Yanni.
Investigation.
Man, that expertise.
There's that luck, man.
Jeez. What catches your eye though is like It's just all of these open like window ways, like there's no glass here or anything like that. And as you kind of like peer out of one of them, you do see that there's just like this wooden lettuce pattern all across the wall with all of this ivy growing across that seems to be crossing all the way around and towards what you presume to be the balcony of what you think is the bedroom.
How far away is the balcony?
Yeah, it's probably like a good 20-foot climb.
Okay, I'm going to what Yanni calls poof over to it as soon as the guards can't see me.
Alrighty, so as you kind of like get onto the ledge, kind of trying to keep out of reach, what does the poof look like?
He just kind of gets a little like a look on his face for a second, and then he kind of just folds in on himself, and then kind of undoes that at his destination.
As you kind of like appear there again, there seems to be almost like this weird blue and black smoke that just immediately fizzles away as you do that. As you look around, you see a beautifully adorned bedroom, multiple tapestries depicting these two-dimensional frescoes woven in this very, very, very coarse fabric, actually, of warriors battling one another, besting beasts. You see this large double-wide bed that has all of this beautiful silk upon it, feather-filled mattress, feather-filled pillow top, and you just this is the most luxurious thing you've ever seen. But the thing that truly catches your eye, on a bedstand beside the bed, there you see this massive tome of a book. These beautiful platinum and gold clasps around it. You see some kind of a symbol on the top of it that makes no sense to you. As you get closer and closer, you suddenly just hear a little voice in the back of your head. Are you to be my bearer? The previous person that approached was terribly boring. Please tell me you are more delightful.
Yeah, I'm your new bearer, for sure. That's me, Yanni. Yeah, I don't normally look like this. Just run with it.
Oh, I can see. Oh, you are not supposed to be here, are you?
Says who? Who told you that?
And you just feel this chuckle almost in your very being. Oh, nobody had to tell me that, sweetheart. I could just tell. Tell you what, why don't you... And again, all of this is just happening in your mind. You try to look around. There's no actual audible source happening. As you kind of look around. Yeah, down here. And as your eyes focus back on the book, you realize there's a connection between the two. Why don't you pick me up and take me far, far away from here? I'll tell you what.
What?
I can teach you ways of doing what you did just now. Even better. That was a nice trick, by the way.
Alright, I think we're gonna be friends.
Oh, I am sure of it. Alright, Yanni, go ahead and make me a stealth check as you're trying to get away from this place.
Stealth check. Come on, big money, no whammy. Alright, finally.
Alrighty. Alright. Now, Yanni, you take the book and you kind of just hide it or like strap it to yourself as you're climbing down the building, incredibly apt, like just using this little wooden lettuce like it is just, spider silk, and you are the spider upon it. As you make your way out, dodging into corners and around little bushes whenever needed, no guard spots you, and you're able to leave despite the doubled security. It is only then that something behind you causes alarm, and then they're shouting. And then there's something about, where is he? What is he? There, that's the one that talked to me. As you see that young 12-year-old once more pointing at you with a quarterstaff, and there's just a group of guards starting to rush down the street, pretty far away from you.
I will hightail it to the first corner I can take and drop my costume. And
As you turned away. The guards, after a minute, kind of come around the corner as they come over by you and just go like, hey, little one, boy, did you see an elf? Bright hair, ends in white tips. Where did he go? Quick, boy, quick!
He went down that next big road.
Peter be
He ran
praised.
past her and knocked me over.
And they run past you. And you hear that voice in your mind once more. That was good. I really liked that.
I'm a little clever.
Now let's get out of this town. I have a feeling they're going to be looking for you.
Hey, let's go.
Yanni,
Where are we going?
you end up conversing with the book some more. And as it kind of is almost like coaches you on how to use your innate tricks to find ways to make a little bit of extra coin, you're able to scrounge, steal, and borrow enough together to ultimately book yourself passage upon Tirem, headed out towards Mitros as part of the great games that are going to happen there. Upon the ship, you see a tall, burly man, not even bodybuilding, but just strongman status. A true, massive specimen of what a man can grow to be. Rhodas, would you like to describe what you look like?
You did such a good job already. Such a manly man. Rotus is an Asimar barbarian, and he keeps his... he's about 90 years old, which puts him a little bit over middle-aged for an Asimar. And he keeps his hair and his beard sort of cut close, and that is because he spends most of his time as a bestiarius, which is like a beast fighter, gladiator, entertaining wherever he can find. The coolest thing about, or I guess probably what most people would think is the coolest thing about him, is that he is a son of Peter. His mother is sort of no longer in the picture, and maybe we'll get to that later. But sort of one of his main drives in life is to really get acceptance from his father as a great fighter. So he is making the rounds, trying to gain some renown, and has actually made some pretty good progress so far in terms of making a name for himself in the arena.
And we actually see, maybe a little while, a week or so prior, as Rotus is just in one of these small fighting pits. It has all of these stakes that are just cemented into the actual adobe walls all around you, and there a lion just goes as it kind of like starts to square up, you guys circling around each other. You merely have a gladius in your one hand and a dagger in the other as you're just squaring up against this thing. Sweat is just running down your skin as the high sun is just baking down upon you. You see these bulging muscles of this man. The veins themselves seems to not stand out in indescribable color because he's so tan, or blue in any of the spots like me if you're very very pale. But instead, actually, there seems to be pure liquid gold pumping through these veins. As the line,
I think that's the coolest thing.
it is super
Peter, glowing gold veins. That's my shit.
As the line kind of gets back on its haunches and starts launching at you, Rhodas, how do you handle that situation?
I'm gonna dodge to the side, gonna roll to the side.
All right, make me an acrobatics check. As you
first roll, baby.
First roll right into that net 20, baby. Alrighty, as you are able to dodge to the side there, you not only dodge to the side, rolling sideways somewhat, but you actually end up also kind of like rolling and grabbing the neck of the lion as you put it into a little bit of like a headlock, and it kind of just starts to wrestle up against you. What do you do?
I'm gonna try to put it out. I'm going to try to knock it out. We're going to see if we can get this lion to submit.
Make me an athletics check.
Pretty hard. Pretty hard, guys.
Yeah, the lion just kind of is able to break out and kind of swipes you in the back of the shoulder as this golden blood just starts running down your side. You kind of square up as suddenly there's just like golden light that seems to be building around your eyes, completely taking over. Everything from the whites to the irises to the pupils of your eyes turns this brilliant golden burning color. And as you step forward, there seems to be just like this shimmering aura around you that just burns away. And as you step closer to the line, it seems to try to get away as you see there's actually steam coming off of the skin, off of the fur itself, trying to step away from you. What do you do as your radiance seems to have just activated?
We're gonna dive at it with our gladius.
All right,
take a stab at it. Get a little blood back for what it did.
Go ahead and make me that longsword attack as an equivalent for that. Or in your case, go ahead and make a javelin attack.
Okay.
Let's say that numbers wise it'll be about the same.
There you go.
Alrighty. As you just come in and the lion kind of jumps at you at the same time, it wraps its massive paws around you, trying to scratch at your back, but it seems like you now actually have that divine power pulsing through you as your skin seems to almost shine with this golden shimmer to it. Its claws are not really able to sink into your back and into your shoulders as you just take the gladius, push up the lower jaw of the lion, and as you close your eyes, take a deep breath and breathe it back out. As you open them back up, the golden light has vanished, and there's just a solemn clap from up above. You see one of the artesian
raise
warlords.
my gladius in triumph.
And this warlord is also well-built man, but you dwarf him in your just general massive physique. But he definitely has seen wars. You see he's bare-chested, and there are just all of these healed scars and scabs all over his body. As he just goes, that was well done. They tell me that you prefer to be a bestiary rather than a warrior. Why is that?
Try not to shed too much blood.
You would put Peter himself to shame. Yeah, truth be told,
I'm sure he wouldn't be too happy to hear that.
I see some of him in you. You aren't one of his many bastard children, are you?
I happen to be.
Well, no offense, friend. I see what you just did to that cat. Now, the reason that I approached you here today is so that you could teach my son, Benius. Come forward. And you see this 12-year-old, well-built young man step forward with a quarterstaff at his side. As you guys enter into negotiations, and you end up being his mentor for the next few days. It is the evening of some big celebration, and you're told that you're going to have to filter out here soon because, again, they don't necessarily want to have the help mingle with the high nobility when it can be avoided. As you guys are going through the last little bit of the exercise, and Benius has been doing very well. He's going to make a fantastic warrior one day. For a moment, as you kind of like pack up your stuff in the deeper recesses in the back of almost like very hard to see little alcove in the back of this training room, you see this very flamboyant, loud-looking elf man step forward and speak to Benius for a moment and then disappear. As you just kind of go, You walk out of the streets thinking to yourself, that stint was good, but the thing that I really need to get to is the great games. If there's any opportunity that I can truly make myself be known to my father, it will be there. And so, as you now stand upon the ship that you use the wages that you got by training Benius, there's this little man, Yanni, looking at you with mouth almost agape, but kind of stuffed very poorly underneath his robe. You kind of see this little book with a symbol carved on the outside of it that you have seen once before in the hands of your former employer. What do you see, Rhodus?
Does Yanni look hungry?
Oh, yeah.
Usually.
I'll pull a ration out of my bag and say, "Care to share a bite?"
Okay, thanks.
I'll. It's just like a loaf of bread. I'll split it in half, share a piece with her, and say,
Jan
"Books about
is a little boy. If you,
Johnny's a guy.
yeah,
oh,
that's...
my apologies. I
It's all
totally
right.
saw the picture. Books about as big as yourself.
What book?
I can see.
This
You
book?
said it. Indeed.
Well, that's only because I'm small. The book's pretty normal size.
David, is this the case? I mean, I think you mentioned it was pretty large, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a big tome, but it also strikes as if Yanni's just trying to play it off like he's clearly feeling a little caught. Do you think that's an appropriate characterization?
Absolutely. You passed your insight check, David.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you like
What
books?
brings-
Do you know how to read?
I can.
That's good. I was lucky. I got taught when I was little. Well, I'm little now. When I was real little.
Well, I had to teach myself.
Oh, good for you. I don't think I could have figured it out on my own.
What brings you onto this boat?
I want to go to Mitros. I want to see the games.
You and I both.
You look like you should be in the games.
Well, if I have my way, I just might.
What's your event? What you do?
I fight.
What do you fight? You fight the beasties or the peoples?
Whatever I can find.
Oh, that's fair. I try not to fight. I'm not good at fighting.
Whomever's willing in some circumstances.
Well, I mean, if it's a game, hopefully everybody's willing.
That's true.
I guess if it's not a game, well, I mean, I've been in fights and I never wanted to be in a fight. Look at me, I'm tiny. How am I going to win a fight?
Do you plan to fight?
So, I just got this bow and arrow, and I'm hoping maybe I can enter the archery contest. But I've never shot it before. I don't know how. Can you teach me?
Not much of a ranger myself.
But I mean, a big fella like you had to have shot a bow once or twice, right?
Once or twice, certainly.
Well, that's once or twice more than I have. Show me, please.
What is there anything of it? We're on a ship, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at this point,
I
this
guess
is
I could
free
just,
form. Yeah, whatever you guys come up with, a cool little story to
Okay.
tell on that one.
What if I lose one of your arrows?
That's okay. I'll steal.
well.
Buy more. I'll buy more.
Yeah, I'll really take the opportunity to show off my my physique as let loose this arrow.
The typical bodybuilding thing where you actually like do a, it's right over there, that kind of thing. yeah.
Yanni with his strength score of 5 goes.
It's like as if muscles could somehow take away mass. That is what it looks like on Yanni.
It's like the old cartoons where you go like this and then it just goes. Whoop.
Boing, boing. Alrighty, and as the trireme sets off and you guys go with the seasoned sailors off on your way, there's actually all of these different boats that set off and ships coming along the Cerulean Gulf and towards Mitros over the next few days as you guys approach that. As we actually shift over to a small mountain village. These nice little plastered homes, actually. They actually have some burned shingles that they have set up. It seems to be an old village. Small but well equipped and actually homey looking. As you see all of these people walking about, appear to be human for the most part, but it seems like all of them have these interesting cat-like eyes. and we actually see this young version of herself. As Brissa, would you like to describe what you look like?
Yeah, Brissa has, about, golden hair down to, just past her shoulders that is mainly probably like unkempt, for, I would say human standards, but it's, kind of like always in like a pretty form, right? She doesn't really take care of it. It's just always there, right? And always nice and bouncy. And, she wears a heavy chainmail, and, that's, kind of, her general, and with a cloak over around her shoulders, and sometimes walking with the hood up as well.
Alrighty. And we see a juvenile version of her as she's sitting in what appears to be like a small school of sorts. And you see at the front of the school is actually what seems to be a dryad. Her skin is actually almost bark-like, her green eyes looking over the rest of you guys, what looks like almost like all of these little twigs pulled back into a bun at the back of her. She goes, "And that is how the settlers overwhelmed our people and doomed us to live a half-life. For Thylea is mostly theirs now. Now, children, always remember, it was the aggression of the Dragonlords that brought so much pain and suffering. Where we provided food, water, and shelter, where Sidon, in his grace, despite his anger of the newcomers invading our shores, still allowed them to exist as long as they showed the proper worship and respect for the land. They took, and finally, when the dragons came, took almost everything we had. If
Brissa will
Sidon...
totally just cough into her and be like, not the dragons! Not the dragons!
As the dryad, in the most McGonagall-like visage, just turns towards you with an eyebrow raised. These beautifully manicured herbs, kind of almost like an eyebrow there. Excuse me, young Brissa, what did you just say?
I was just trying to say that I don't think it was the dragon's fault. It's kind of like, how they were raised. It probably wasn't their fault.
Would you disagree then, Academic Brissa? As she's just starting to pace to the other side. All the other kids are going like, oh, like between that exchange between you guys. Would you then say that the dragons did not almost drive the Geigen Empire, an entire culture, to extinction?
No, I would say that they...
Then would you not also say that it was not the dragons that ultimately tipped the scales? That they did not descend down upon the lands and left ashes and skeletons and burnt everything in their wake?
Yeah, but they're...
All right, well then, young Academic Brissa, you must also concede that the dragons were a weapon of war so devastating and powerful.
No, exactly. They were the weapons of war. They weren't the people causing the war.
But
you said it yourself.
Were the dragons mindless beasts? A boar driven before a cart? No.
No, but if they're always raised to hate, then, they'll hate.
Nang, you naive fool. You would let a dragon burn down your home just so you could feel its fire upon your skin. I'll have a word with your parents. Please let them know, yes?
Maybe.
And as that day ends, we actually watch Brissa just kind of walk home. And on that walk home, go ahead and make me a perception check, Brissa. You walk along like this little path that that goes on a very, very steep and narrow path that just coils around and twists back and forth this mountainside and the Mithril Mountains where you have grown up your entire life. And as you're walking around, there is a shout that you hear, but not really hear, as you're just like thinking back and forth. Dragons are just so cool, and if I could just have a dragon and raise the dragon right, I could train my dragon. And I would probably write some kind of a dissertation, how to train your dragon. And then after that, I think a lot of the Sylvan folk as suddenly a rock just hits you on the side, and you swear for that half second before it you heard a "Watch out!" as everything goes black. You wake up what must have been hours later, for the sun is low in the sky now. You look around, feeling the blood in the back of your skull, and you just go, ow! And you find yourself kind of in this deep ravine. You seem to have just fallen into a shallow lagoon, and then just kind of washed up on the side without taking in any of the water there. And you're just kind of looking around, sopping wet. And as you look up, you actually see this massive bone cage, rib cage, and bones that are just mostly just underwater there, and some kind of glistening thing under the water.
I guess Bristol will, kind of like get to her feet and kind of like, like look at the bones, like touch them a little bit and see if they turn to ash or if they're like solid bones, and then she'll try and see if she can make her way to the shiny thing that she saw, and then also try to figure out what these bones are too.
Take note, DMs. Always present your players with shiny things. They will almost always touch it and burn themselves to a crisp, as Alex actually proved last night. All right, as you approach this little situation here, the thing that makes your heart leap almost out of your chest is that submerged under the water is the skeleton of an ancient, massive-sized dragon. As you furtively start walking forward, you try to put together in your mind what must have happened here. Go ahead and make me an investigation check. Your mind reels with the possibilities. Maybe one of the sphinxes rose into the sky and then met the dragon there, and then Sidon climbed on top of all of it, and they're just wrestling back and forth until finally the dragon crashed into the mountainside, creating this entire cave. Its tears wept from its eyes and created the pool that you're in. And as you're kind of like walking forward, just like this awe and amazement, there's kind of like this weird distractedness that is kind of like keeping you from it as you kind of push it and find yourself actually almost like neck deep in the water already. That little shine, that little glittering over in the corner there, much closer now.
I guess I'll go over. I'm not going to touch it yet because I did learn my lesson from yesterday. So I'll go over the corner and kind of see what it is, what's lying down.
Make me a perception check. And as you get closer and closer and kind of like go under the water, you start kind of pushing and pulling yourself along the bones, kind of kicking your legs in the back and diving deeper and deeper. And as you get there, you see what appears to be this massive scale, shimmering gold under the water, refracting some of the light as it hits across it. And you guess the scale must be at least almost 3 feet wide at its longest. As you just look at it, it is so beautiful.
Do I think I'm strong enough, since this is a younger version of Bristol, do I think I'm strong enough to bring the scale up and out of the water, or,
Roll me a D100. Let's make this a luck roll. For the DMs at home, I like using something that I learned from GURPS, which is a luck roll. And a luck roll for me is always going to be a D100. As you try to pull at it, it's just too big, and you realize there's actually a little bit more. It's actually connected to like a trio of scales underneath. As you feel like, and your little meter would flash if this was a video game, as you kind of like desperately press A as fast as you can to get to the surface, and then ultimately push back out. Over the next few years, you will return to the spot again and again and again, as we come to the present day. And Brissa, though young she still is, approaches the cave one more time. You've come here to write poems, to read about the forbidden lore of dragons that your parents, after the talk with the dryad, priestess/teacher of yours, had forbidden you to ever look at. You ultimately had kind of establish a little bit of a library here. You actually hew out into the stone itself this little bit of a bookshelf. There are all of these like tomes that you have put there, and you actually took some soot from the fires that you had set and drawn all of these frescoes and depictions of you riding dragons all across here. As you look back towards the thing and you think, today might be the day. You dive back into the water. You grasp at the dragon scale. Go to make me an athletics check. Your muscles that have grown much stronger, you having done push-ups and a general just Rambo montage in these caves here over the next few years. And you are kicked back a little bit as this beautiful, probably about 5-6 feet across section of what must have been part of the scales of this massive ancient dragon come loose, and just set it down there, wiping the grime and dirt and mud off of it, and you look at this beautiful piece of an ancient dragon.
Definitely like shine it.
Echoing through the cave, you hear a Brisa! As you see your father at the mouth of the cave, carrying what looks like a recent kill of a deer, and just drops it, mouth agape, disbelief and anger in his eyes.
I'm gonna totally like back up, like try and like kick the scale to the corner, and then also like back up and try and hide the books like behind the shelf, because I totally know he doesn't know anything about those, and probably most of them are probably borrowed without
Open mouth, he steps forward, just complete disbelief on his eyes, as you see him just kind of take everything in, the books, the drawings, the scales, the skeleton, and finally his eyes just rest on you as his head shakes, and just anger and grief seem to be mixing into one as there's just tears slowly starting to run down his face. You promised, Brisa. You promised your mother you would never do this. What have you done?
There's much worse things I could be doing.
Brisa, you swore an oath. You swore an oath before your mother. You swore an oath to Lutheria and Sidon. Do you know what this means?
I don't think I've necessarily broken an oath. I'm just doing research, right?
Child.
It doesn't hurt to do research. That's not gonna break an oath.
And he's just starting to pace, like, complete disbelief, as in your mind, the lessons of the Dryad ring forth once more. For oaths are taken very seriously in Thylea. An oath truly made before the gods becomes binding, not just in law, not just between the people that seek to enforce it, but before the very gods that you swore them. And those who break oaths find themselves to be divinely cursed forevermore, until they are able to get redemption. Have you felt effects of the curse yet?
There's no curse. I'm not gonna get cursed. Don't worry about any curse. Brisa will totally look around like nervously, like I wasn't thinking about a curse.
We have to burn this. We have to burn all of this. Clear it out. Go home. Go home now, Brisa. Go. As he goes over towards the books and just starts taking them and just rip them apart, pull the pages out and throw them into the water.
Can I try and grab I'll try and grab the scale.
As you rush over, you kind of rush over to the scale and kind of try to grab it. Still, it's like you actually kick it over by accident, and there you see what seems to have been made almost part of the side of the dragon at one point. There's almost like a holster, and in that holster is a permanent scabbard, gold and beautiful itself. And there you see the hilt of a sword.
Yeah, I'll take the hilt, and the scale, and see if I can get away with both and just like push past my dad if I have to, I guess.
As you pull out the hilt, you something snaps as the iron seems to have rusted away and it kind of breaks off at the very end of the hilt. The blade itself useless. But as you try to pick up the scale, your father turns around one more time, and just goes, "Again? Go now!" And he takes the scale and just. You are able to just barely keep the hilt in your hand and covered behind your back. Splash as the scale sinks to the bottom once more. You quickly turn around, tears in your eyes now, but in your hand, you just hold a weapon. And as you look at the scripture across it, it seems to be matching with the common, well, what originally was the common language of the first men when they first arrived that changed over the years to become the common of Thylea. And you realize this must have belonged to one of the Dragonlords at one time. As suddenly you hear a breaking of a thundercloud, lightning cutting across the sky. And lightning strikes down right in front of your feet. You rocket it back as you slide back 50 feet. You're still holding onto the hilt in your hand as your father rushes over and kind of just picks you up in his arms, tears running down his face as he looks down upon you. You fool! You fool! No! And he just screams to the skies. And as you look down upon your arm, your entire forearm just has all of these Byzantine maze-like scars across it. Something that has become a known symbol of being cursed by Sidon. The days pass until you finally find yourself before your parents again. The village has gathered behind them, the two parents in front, and you with a backpack full of things. And the hilt. Your mom not even being able to look at you, just looking at the mountaintop away, letting your father do the talking, as always, as he steps forward. Brisa, we can't have you stay here. The magic of the Dryad is only going to keep you alive for so long. At this point, you might as well go to the lands of these people that you love so much. So much more than you love your own people. Go then, and be with them, if that is what you seek.
That's not true. I love you guys so much. I don't love those people. I love you guys. It's just I think there's a lot of confusion.
Walks away and just kind of like keeps you off of him if you try to like get closer. We cannot have your curse spread to the others. We are people of Sidon and Lutheria. We will never allow the Five to enter our hearts. We will never worship the dragons. As he spits on the ground. Grovel before your lords.
I will prove you wrong. I will get all the knowledge that I can and come back to you and show you that the dragons are not the bad people. I know it.
Even when your doom is certain, you are still delusional, child. I wish I could have done better by you. I wish I could have taught you better. I wish. As he just shakes his head and turns around, and the entire village turns their back on you, waiting for you to leave.
She'll start crying and then turn around and just start and run away from the village towards.
Stab him first, quick! He's got his back to you.
Alrighty. As we actually again zoom away, and instead zoom in high above the mountaintop, just gliding there like a bird, free of all responsibility. We see these massive wings span out, these long limbering appendages of arms ending in almost claw-like hands. Tyler, would you like to describe what your character looks like? And how do you pronounce it? I didn't want to butcher it. That's why I didn't say it.
I figured it was Lyra, but I don't know. Greek is weird, so.
Yeah. And this is for funsy stuff. So Lyra it is.
Yeah. So Lyra is a siren, so she is mostly humanoid, except for wings, obviously, and her arms and legs are talons, like bird talons. She is, slightly smaller than normal human size, so about 5 feet, probably. She has kind of strawberry blondish hair. She usually wears it in a bun or a longer braid, just up and out of the way. Just robes, no armor. And she just kind of keeps to herself and stays away from most people other than her family.
And your family was the one that raised you to be that way. For sirens are often decried as the entities that lured many a warlord off a cliff and into his or her certain doom. And so sirens are often mistreated, sometimes even by their own kin, for being seductresses on the one end, all the way to potentially assassins. And so you've always lived a very hermetic life up high in the mountains. Often the time you have seen the humanoids, the mortals down below, just like yourself, but without the ability to fly. But what a gift flight is. How happy you are that the Titans gave the sirens the ability to do so, to sing their songs of their people. But for you, you've always felt a closer connection, a greater connection. Your mother, though frail she always has been, always had what your people call the eye. On a full moon, she would hear the voices of the Fates. The Fates, the entities who can tell the future of Thylea, tell the future of even an entity before them. The Fates whispering to her about what may yet come to pass. And innately, you always knew just a little bit of what that would look like. And as you're flying across the mountain here, far down below, you see this little golden-haired child walking on a very thin path, kind of humming to herself. As you recognize this to be one of the nymphs that lives in a village far below. Up above this little nymph, you see what appears to be some kind of cat that almost perfectly blends in with the rocky crags, starting to approach closer and closer towards the child. What do you do?
I think I would try and keep my distance from the nymph, but try and get close enough that I can kind of intercept between the two.
Alrighty. As you get closer towards that, the cat kind of picks up your scent and looks up towards you as you see some kind of a mountain lion looking at you now. Having been just perfectly posed to probably spring upon the child and end its life, it now sees you and kind of starts reeling up against that. It looks back down towards its prey, though, and you see that tentativeness, that edge, that decision between to jump and get its kill or watch whatever you're going to do next. What do you do, Lyra?
I'll attack it.
Alrighty, as you go down, you suddenly just black out for a second. It has happened before, and your mother has taught you that whenever you black out, try to be in a safe space. Make sure that you don't fly for too long, for it can happen at any time. When the fates speak to you, child, be safe. be calm. And as the blackness overtakes you, you hear these three feminine voices just kind of layered across each other, seemingly speaking as a chorus, but every once in a while, one voice will rise out of the chorus and seem to speak in of itself. Lyra. 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 Child. 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 The child. You must save the child. Take this. Take this. Take this. And you come out of it as you have plummeted about 20 feet. You just tentatively, like instinctually reach out, and as you put up your palm, suddenly, what would you describe your Eldritch Blast to look like?
I was thinking something along the lines of like threads, like loom threads, kind of just shooting from my hand.
Alrighty, as all of these threads kind of come together, shooting outwards towards the mountain line. The mountain line kind of growls at you, jumping to the side. As the explosion hits, having driven off the mountain line that now bounds across the mountainside, the rocks of her come tumbling down, and you just go, "Watch out!" as you try to scream down towards the child being so deep in its own thoughts, suddenly has a rock hit it on the side as you watch Brissa in her young form fall into a lake. You swoop down to see, and the child is kind of washed up on the side in some kind of a cave, and as you see the remains of a dragon before you, you just feel that this place is heavy. This place has meaning. This place has destiny. But this is not yours. As you step back on your clawed feet, turn around and then look back towards the child just one more time. She's breathing. The fates said to save her. I must tell Mother. As during the same time period, your mother teaches you in the gift of the fates, of the eye, to foretell the little signs whenever you start having that pain that shoots between the hemispheres of your mind, that you are able to tell when the fates will whisper to you. And you train more and more. And on a particular day, when the migraine shooting through your mind is so unbearable that you just want to puke to make it go away, bash your head in if that's what it takes, blackness, that thankful, appreciable blackness overtakes you once more. You see the child now grown to womanhood upon the back of a massive beast. Golden wings spread out, coming to the center body of this creature. Towering, imposing, regal. And again, the three women, young, adult, and crone, interlayered, speak to you. The child. The child. The child. She will make a difference. She will bridge the worlds. But you will need to guide, you must. Guide, and you will make the prophecy come true. You go back out of the darkness. You tell your mother what must be but done, and even though she cries, she knows. Your father protests, but he knows that when the fates speak, the first people listen, unlike those foolish settlers. And if a time of peace must be followed with a time of reckoning and building of bridges, and if his child is the one to make that happen, what a foolish mortal he would be to stand in that way. As your parents envelop you, shed tears as this three-way hug presses closer and closer and warms you, Your mother gives you a small kiss on the forehead. Your father takes your cheek one more time, rubbing your tear away. They both nod towards you as you take to the sky, seeking what you think you will find if you just look closely enough. And as you descend further down towards the gravel path that leads to this massive city to the southeast, there you see her, the golden-haired child, now a woman. Brissa, you can hear the gliding of wings quickly approaching as you see a siren, Lyra, approaching you. What do either of you say?
First, I think, Brissa's gonna think that it's probably someone from her town, like trying to, or I guess, were there sirens in my town, or no? Probably
Living
not,
in the
then.
town? No.
Yeah, no, probably not. So she wouldn't think that. I guess I would just looking at her in awe, being like, because I wish I could fly. So, and just kind of like admiring the flight.
I would probably land and ask the child, who's now grown up, if she has been back to that cave.
I don't want to talk about that cave. What do you know about the cave? That's my cave. And just her like eyes are welling up. She's about to cry again because thinking about the cave.
The cave is your future. The cave is where you will change everything.
My father just burned down the cave. He got rid of everything that was in there. I had so many books. I had a dragon scale. It was all in there. Now I have nothing.
Where is it?
My father burned it. He burned it all. There's nothing for me in that cave anymore. I can't go back. My village told me I can't go back.
Can I jump in and go back to the cave?
Sure.
I just want to see if I can find anything.
You go back to the cave and you see that the bones had been shattered, the books burned, all of the drawings across the wall besmirched and smeared so that they wouldn't be recognizable anymore. And even though you spend a good half hour searching in there, there's no sign of this scale.
Do I see it? Can I swim around? I can hold my breath for a really long time. So, can I swim around and see if I can see it in the water somewhere?
You do, and you don't even have to make a perception check. It's gone. You don't know what they did with it, but it's not here anymore.
I'll come back and tell her you have to find it. It's imperative that you find it.
I can't go back to my village. My dad probably took it somewhere. I wouldn't even know. Probably gave it to my brother who ran off. Who knows? It's gone. I have to go to the city anyways. Need to find a healer.
Then I will come with you.
What? Why? I don't understand.
The fates told me you'll change it, and I believe them, and I'll help you.
Bristol will just be a little confused and be like, change what? Change my father's mind? My village's mind?
If that's part of it, yes.
She'll perk up a little bit and be like, okay. I mean, I want to prove my old school teacher wrong. I know she's wrong. The dragons aren't bad.
What would Lyra know about dragons? I mean, I'm sure they've been gone for a long time, but do sirens like them? Do we hate them? Do we... care about them.
Yeah, your people in general are mistrusted by all, but your particular family tribe has always believed that there's good in all people, that Thalia was created out of a desire to go away from strive, and therefore you guys strive to be better, to be kind, to help where help is appreciated, not appreciated but needed, but never expect anything in return.
Then I'll say, as much as I don't want to go to the city, we have to.
I have to find a healer, and then she'll she had ripped off like some of her pants legs, and then she'll unravel her arm and kind of show the curse mark that she has, and then she'll wrap it up like really fast again. I have to find a healer to see what I could do to get rid of this.
I would know what that means, right? Because I know
the
about
curse.
Sidon and his curses.
100%.
Then we have to find a healer. Lead on.
What is your name?
Lyra.
It's nice to meet you, and I appreciate the help. My name's Brissa.
It's nice to meet you, Brissa.
Thank you. I can't fly though, so I don't know if walking is gonna, if you just want to fly in circles around me, like I don't know how that's gonna work, but I can't fly.
It's okay. Sometimes I can't fly either.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool that you can fly though. I wish I could fly.
It's useful.
Maybe one day. I've heard they have these things called drakes. Maybe I'll get to ride a drake one day. That would be really cool. It's not nearly as cool as a dragon. Do you know the differences between a dragon and a drake? I can list all the differences between a dragon and a drake if you want.
Go ahead, and I'll just sit down.
Well, Brissa will explain to him all the differences between dragons.
No,
and drakes.
no. We want to hear all the differences between a wyvern and a drake.
I'm not prepared.
How big is Brissa? Is Brissa like?
She's leaner, but she's probably like average height, but she's a little bit more on the beefier side. But like a strong slender. Because she kept on, she wanted to lift that scale, right? So she kept on making sure she was pretty good in the athletics department.
Oh, I'm so weak. But I want to try and pick up Brissa and at least fly a little bit.
I don't think I'm not heavy.
Right, and I am very weak.
Yeah, you're weak, and the thing about Siren bone structure, in order to be able to fly, you actually have very filigrane bones, right? So as you try to pick it up, it's like, and as you're flapping, like approaching hummingbird speed, you're just like, you certainly got like 2 inches, 3 inches up. Too much.
I appreciate the effort. Those 3 inches were really cool. They were awesome. I appreciate you trying.
You're pretty sure that
remember
Brissa's
that
whispered,
and multiply it.
"I am the dragon." Alrighty. As you guys start walking down this dirt path together, our vision changes one more time, but doesn't clear until after we take a short 10-minute break. I have been keeping you guys on rapt RP attention, which, by the way, all of you guys listening in, thank you very much for the attention. We're going to take a quick 10-minute break.
Everyone's been so great so far.
Absolutely.
Oh, first episode, knocking it out of the park.
Well, I just appreciate all of you guys watching. And again, it's going to be 10 minutes from now, so about 4 after 10 Mountain Standard Time. I'll see you guys in 10 minutes. we're back. Welcome back to Polyhedra playing Odyssey of the Dragonlords. What you guys have missed so far is the introduction of 4 characters. The first sessions that I usually do as a DM are little vignettes. It's actually a trick that I picked up from a podcast called the Glass Cannon Podcast. I highly recommend it if you guys have nothing to do during work, if you're caught at home or even at the gym or something like that, you want to listen to a cool story and some cool DM tricks. The guy who runs the Glass Cannon Podcast is phenomenal at those little things. So highly suggest that. But we're going to dive back in as we have so far got to meet Yanni, the little thief, Rhodus, the Brodus, Brissa, the little dragon fangirl, and Lyra, yes, Lyra, the siren with a penchant for seeing into the future. Now, however, we are going to find ourselves in the hustle and bustle that is the center of the world as far as the people of Thylia are concerned. The city of Mitros. We see the grand temples. There's a temple to the 5 that is created that has the statues of the different 5 gods that the colonizer races are worshipping. Right next to it and right across of the promenade is the temple to Sidon, the singular marble structure of the god of storms, just having a lightning bolt in one hand, just poised to strike down dead the 5 marble statues of the gods across from the promenade. A very clear, very violent sign of things to come here. Passing between this little bit of an antagonistic positioning of statues is this young lass. Andrew, would you like to describe what Crane looks like?
Crane is naturally enchanting. A lot of people notice her when she's walking through a crowd, both for good and bad reasons. They might be attracted to her or envious of her. Thanks to her nymph heritage, she's just a natural charmer. She's completely hairless with flowing water that represents her hair and ice flecks for eyebrows. She's built like an Olympic swimmer with jacked upper torso and powerful legs, thanks to a lifetime of swimming the rivers of Mitros. She's wearing light swim gear with a loose patchy Aladdin pants on top and a dwarven-made leather jacket on top that is wide enough for her arms and shoulders, but goes down to her waist instead of her hips, and is quite fashionable. She is 23 years old. She's going through a tumultuous time in her life where she thinks her emotions supersede those of everyone around her. You know?
Now, she seems to be walking at the head of a pack as there's some arguing behind her. There are 3 different individuals. The first one seems to be this big old bruiser type of a minotaur, big old septum ring, very cliche in the way, but he likes it. He has little what appear to be gold, but really are just brass with some gold paint over it, like he tips on his horns.
Every day.
As you have Sax kind of go, I just don't understand. I don't understand why the Lady of Coin wants us to be part of the great games. Come on, Crane, we don't do things like this. We're the crew.
Sax, I have told you, we need to pay our dues. We can't keep going around sneaking and expecting not to be caught or killed.
And chiming in is this almost like floating, kind of like every step seems to be almost like a little jump, as she seems to be just almost like gliding across the ground. Would you like to describe what Boots looks like?
Boots is a wind/star nymph. Can't remember, Ore or something like that. So they have light purple skin, almost lavender. Wispy hair that always seems to be flowing in the breeze, and they've always got a kind of aloof, kind of far off expression, as if they're thinking about deep things.
And she kind of just goes,
yeah,
see, that is why she is in charge and not you big dummy, and just boops him on the nose. So she's like,
I told you to stop doing that. It really offsets the moisture of my nose, and then I have to...
And he just licks his nose to get it remoistened. As
Crane laughs at that. Yeah, Boots is a childhood best friend, so she likes her antics.
And then kind of in the very back, looking kind of back and forth, how would you describe Suleiman, aka Scully, to look like?
Sully, excuse me.
Oh, Sully, my
Sully
bad.
is a late teens human boy. He's just got like kind of mousy brown hair. He's wearing a pair of broken and cracked spectacles. It looks like it's been like kind of sorted and welded on, like two different frames of spectacles welded together. He is a bit thin in frame, but taller than Boots. Not as tall as Sax, and around the same size as Crane, I reckon.
And yes, guys,
which
Andrew
is-
gets to play all three characters. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Yeah, Sully definitely is the one keeping up in the back, and he's kind of scrappy and in his own mind as well. He's the brains of the outfit.
Yeah, as he
yeah.
kind of goes, listen, you guys, both sex boots. This is not what you think. We have many potential contracts that can come out of these. Crane, you make the decisions. Yes. But I think that if we are doing this right, we will make good coin. Quite good coin. She's called the Lady of Coin. You do not fuck with the cult of the snake.
That's
all
right.
right.
That's why he's the brains. And that's why you are the muscle sacks. You just do what you do best and fight when you need to fight.
You feel the city hustle and bustle as there are hundreds of people walking down the center promenade, having conversations about which philosophy is the truest, whether it is better to be why am I actually blanking on that myself right now? Everything from a sophist to a sardonic. You know, these conversations going back and forth. They're bardic college goers who are just back and forth going about dissertations they're going to write and all this other stuff. You see these armored centurions, the guards and standing army of Myrtos just rushing by you guys as you ultimately turn to a little side corner there. And as you get into this part of the lower part of Mitros, closer to the docks, where things are a little bit more run down, not quite as bad as outside of the city wall where the true slums are, but some of the seedy things that happen. And you walk into a room as there is like this big old dragonborn, black of scale, and just kind of like a pale, like clearly no longer functioning right eye, where there's just like these claw marks that tore it apart. As he's just sitting at a table as you guys walk into this building, pushing aside the little bit of cloth covering that there is. You see also all over, like all different kinds, from humans to elves to dwarves to actually a centaur that is just kind of like currently on its haunches, like in the back, leafing through something in its hand. As you see, whom you know to be Little Dragon, this kind of bruiser slash contact in the underworld, just going.
I'll give them a respectful nod, as always.
And he's just chewing on something as he like holds up this what looks like some kind of a hog's haunch. You're late, Crane. You were supposed to be here half an hour ago. What took you so long?
Is it already two shadow hands past noon? Like I've been so busy. I'm so sorry. I promise we will make it up to you with the work that we do.
You better. No.
I imagine Sax would probably be like displaying his chest. So I'll probably kind of stand in front of Sax and kind of block the two beefy dudes in the room from testosteroning themselves all over the place. And I would say, what is it you need of us? Where you know the river rats are good for anything. Here in the slums, you need a job. We're the ones to go to.
This one is actually going to take you to the Great Games, Crane.
Oh.
I've heard of your proclivity to punch your way out of problems when they present themselves. Is that true?
She kind of rubs her knuckles a little bit and says, only in self-defense, of course.
Of course. Well, here it is going to be officially sanctioned. You're going to be performing in front of King Acastus and the goddess Valus herself. How does that sound?
When he says King Acastus, she spits on the ground. and says, "Why would I want to show off in front of that windbag? He has done nothing for me.
Because
Why
the
should I
lady
entertain him?"
is going to pay you more than you can thieve in an entire year, little one.
She looks at Sully, and he does a couple mental calculations and just gives the thumbs up. And she says, "I'll see what I can do."
Good. One more thing. We've got a little ace to make sure we're going to win this fight. You see, there's going to be gladiator
Oh, it's
bits
one
that
of
you're going
those
to be in.
fights.
Kind of. Thing is, we don't care if our ace survives or not, but I think she will be helpful. Now,
Well,
your
no,
goal is
we've
actually
only
going
lost
to
two.
be...
We've only lost 2 in the past, so I mean, third time's a charm.
Boots just kind of rolls her eyes. It's not our fault if they're not good at anything.
Yeah, you've got
As-
to bring the skills to survive.
As Little Dragon goes, I don't care if any of you survive. The fewer of you there are, the less coin you have to split, right? But what we want is actually something that you may want too. You see, this little ace is going to make sure she's going to look towards Augustus at the right time. Do you think you can arrange for this, Crane?
That she is in eyesight of the king.
Yes, I think you'll understand why.
If he's in the same box he's always sitting in with his wines and peoples and servants, yes, we can arrange that.
Good. You see, our little secret weapon is a little bit of a surprise. As he whistles, you see these 2 large humans just carry, like on their shoulders, these poles, and there's some kind of a crate with holes on the side, punched into the side, as they're kind of carrying something between them. Approximately 5 by 5 by 5 feet large of a box, and you hear something just kind of moving around, and you swear you hear what appears to be some kind of a hissing noise. And a curse from the inside.
Dragon, you said her. Like, is it a beast? What is she?
I think so, but why don't you tell me? And he nods towards the 2 humans as they just kind of like against the crate, and then release some of the latches as the crate drops down, and out of the darkness you see 2 green hands kind of grasp the side of it and pull themselves forward.
This time Sax steps in front of Crane at his job, and the other 2 move out to the sides, a practice formation.
And you see a snake-haired woman slither almost out of this little box. As Casaria, would you like to describe what you look like?
So, due to copyright laws and whatnot, I can't say that she's quite Uma Thurman in her reaction to the Olympians, but that's my whole vision for this character.
For sure.
Okay. So she's completely green, obviously, as most traditional Gorgons are. She's got a writhing head just full of snakes. You can tell that, like, you know, at some point that her hair probably ran somewhere down, like, you know, the course of, like, probably like mid-shoulder length as far as her back goes. The snakes, sometimes they get along, sometimes they don't. I feel like half the time you can see some of them just kind of sniffing at each other and the other ones just kind of looking around all the time. Her eyes are a very bright, vivid golden, but she tries to normally look towards the ground and whatnot because, I mean, there's definitely shame in the curse that's fallen upon her. And she has had to learn her limits, especially as a healer, as far as like who she can and can't look at. At this point, she's even started to realize that like even her own reflection is kind of harmful to her. So she doesn't make a lot of eye contact. She is definitely standoffish due to her nature, and but I mean that being said, she also is fully aware of her capabilities, which has ended her up in this predicament with the plot to stare the king in the face. So.
And as you kind of slither out, your snakes kind of fighting each other, kind of sniffing at the air. You see first this towering minotaur, but then kind of like peeking around the side with like a look of wonder and interest and awe and fear. Just a tinge of like, oh shit, as this is the first time, Crane, you've actually seen a true Medusa.
And as Crane's kind of staring to get a better look, Sully says, "Everyone, eyes down," and everyone except Sax looks away, but Sax keeps staring and starts huffing a bit like there's a threat in the room.
And as you kind of go out and you see that fear in everyone's eyes, Casaria, you are transported back. Your memories taking you back to many years ago. What would you say you looked like once upon a time?
So once upon a time, before the curse befell her, she was actually a maenad for the goddess Kyra, and I would say that she had like I said, about shoulder length, like chestnut brown hair. Seeing as Kyra is like the goddess of music and like mirth and like parties and festivities and whatnot, she yeah, I mean, it was pretty commonplace for her to have like, you know, different sprigs of like mistletoe and like, you know, other types of foresty stuff kind of like in her hair and everything, just because I mean, you know, when you're in service to the party goddess, basically you never know where your head's going to quite lie at the end of the night. But at the same time, she was also definitely very much there and very much present so that she could take care of her mistress's every want and need and make sure that she was able to party on for another day. So I feel like it was typically like flowing robes, like, you know, traditionally like white, some gold embroidery and whatnot, usually barefoot, because I mean everybody's got to do a walk of shame in the morning after a good night of partying. So and that's pretty traditional and tracks with the goddess Kyra in her mind. So and I feel like it was fairly commonplace for her to say that like she wasn't necessarily like, you know, a god-given beauty or anything, but she definitely wasn't homely. I mean, especially if you're going to be in service to the party goddess. So yeah, she got a fair amount of attention, but she wasn't drop dead gorgeous or anything with suitors just lying.
You wear the right clothes, you put on the right makeup, like, you know, then she's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. So I mean, but also I mean we're back in the Bronze Age of gods too. So I mean her makeup smeared pretty easily after a night of partying.
And what
a bit of berry juice on the cheeks, you know.
Yeah. You just squeeze your cheeks really hard before the night.
Yeah.
As we see you actually going around the temple, and you are barefoot once more, kind of groggy from the evening beforehand, walking in the morning into this temple, and you get some greetings from some of the other party goers of the night before as you're slinking your way back from whatever lever you took that evening. And as you come back into the temple, you actually see a group of people just kind of in the corner, throwing up and generally just feeling ill. As you like take the day and help them out, they start feeling better, but then the next day they return again, and this time there are more. You help them again, you try to pray to the goddess, to the natural powers of Thylea, pray to the goddess of Thylea as well, and they feel better for a time, but then they return. And over the next few weeks, more and more of the surrounding villages keep coming to your part of the Old Woods. And as you try to wrap your mind around what the hell exactly is happening here, you figure out that this is the beginning of a plague. If something is not done quickly, these people will die, perish in the most horrendous way. Your limited divine power is not going to be able to help them. You pray, you reach out, you plead to Kyra, you plead to Thalia, you plead to all of them, to Lutheria, to Sidon even. And as you are in prayer one night upon the altar, the statue of Kyra before you, the beauty that she is, with a little bit of a brush in one hand and just what seems to be like an ever full horn in the other. You hear a "You called" behind you, and as you turn around, you see this beautiful young human-looking woman, brown hair just cascading down well past her navel all the way to her butt cheeks. As she steps forward, she has this golden wreath just kind of through her hair, her eyes this brilliant green as she steps forward to you. "Child, I have heard your prayers."
Do I happen to recognize this person before me?
Make me an insight or religion check.
Alright, 1 second. Yeah. Religion would probably be best. Let's go with that.
Okay.
Oof.
As she steps forward, the
I'm
one
still
thing
a little
that
hard
seems
over the night before.
odd to you is Kyra is never depicted with long hair. It seems
Okay.
odd. Interesting. But otherwise, the facial structure in general seems to fit. You know that Kyra is kind of a low-key trickster goddess, enjoys playing pranks, or at least walking in disguises whenever she can, so it's not out of the norm, but it's interesting.
Okay. Well, I mean, I feel first and foremost, I'm gonna take a jump back because it's not too often these days that a deity actually answers you in the flesh, and I'm just gonna be like, "Oh, milady, to what do I owe the pleasure? Could you possibly assist me with some of these ailments that I'm seeing here in this temple?"
Oh, but of course I can. But of course it is going to also take work. You are one of the most devout priestesses in all the land. For that I can only thank you. The offerings that you give me are delightful. But you see, what I see happening here is that worship has decreased of one that plagues these people, plagues them in their dreams, plagues them where I cannot help them. And thus, you must redirect their worship, my love. You must have them worship Lutheria. She is feeling scorned and so cast aside. If we do not give Lutheria at least that little bit of sacrifice, she's going to bring more and more plagues. The oath of peace is almost at an end. Let's try to appease when the peace runs out, yes?
Okay. Could I do another religion check to see what sacrifice may be best for Lutheria?
Go for it.
Alright. Oof. Man, I really hit the booth last night.
You've always stayed away from that practice. Sidon, Lutheria, the Titans. You never wanted to worship them. Kyra was just your main girl, right? So you've heard what people tend to do every once in a while, which is like whenever you have a toast or you drink, or at the beginning of a meal or something like that, you'll pour out a little bit, you throw a little bit of the food out into the woods so that the beasts of the wilderness can get it. So
Sure.
maybe that can work.
I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and suggest that to this person, as far as like, you know, the extent to which my knowledge of like Lutheria worship goes, seeing as I am very devout and dedicated to the goddess Tyra, and I'm gonna ask them what they suggest for a sacrifice.
That would be fantastic. Maybe we can have all of the farmers gather together, and then they can give, let's say, something modest, 10% of what they can give. And we should give it to the beasts of the land, so that Lutheria may be appeased.
Okay. Alrighty.
All right, and
I mean,
you get a committee together. There are nice pastries that are made for those occasions. They meet. They all get together, and you guys have this nice festival that is thrown in the honor of Lutheria. That you get some eyebrow raises, and some people are like, "What are you doing?" And you reassure them. You say that you had a vision from Kyra herself. That this is about appeasement. That out of all the gods, Kyra is the one most equipped to reach out, to make peace, to create beauty where only terror has reigned for so long. And so the food is gathered into the woods and left out, and the beasts of the wood feed upon it, and the food is gone. And for weeks, everything is good. People are healthy. But that is when more and more people start showing up at the temple wounded. More and more of them reporting that the beasts of the woods have been attacking them whenever they try to make their way to Mitros or Astoria or try to find any of the settlements along the coastline, that they seem to be getting more and more angry.
Have the people been consistently putting out offerings for these weeks as these increased
you guys had like one big sacrifice of food that was given to Lutheria's honor.
Oh shoot! I mean, even as a priestess, I would know that you got to keep up the sacrifices and whatnot. So maybe we should see about throwing some sort of huge party in Kyra's name to get the message out about how we need to continue with the sacrifices for Lutheria.
All right, and that you do, and people grumble for if you cannot have trade, food and stuff like that is there, but then you don't make the coin to get the other necessities. But the priestess of Kyra would know, and so they start giving more and more sacrifices. And as the sacrifices continue, it seems like the attacks become more and more severe. As one evening you pray again to Kyra, and once more she appears behind you and goes, "Well, that did not work. Lutheria is a hard one to pin down. I apologize. She's so fickle. Maybe this Sidon we need to please, but he is a power-hungry individual. To please him would take... I shudder to think. Maybe round up the ones that have been committing crimes. Those unwanted in the communities, those that have done bad things, and offer them as sacrifice to Sidon. Maybe that will appease the god."
Oh. Okay. Well...
I am sorry, child. It is a big task to ask of you. But you have been strong and so good. I am proud of you.
Well, thank you, mistress. That means the world. Are there any suggestions in which I could get the word out? Because I feel like people might throw the influx of attacks back in my face since we spread the word at the last party.
True.
So the last thing I want is for you to start to lose worshippers over all of this.
Maybe announce that the tax and tithe now can go away, that there will be a new offering given, and that it was truly Sidon that we needed to place, that Lutheria is now filled to the brim. And the people will rejoice, for the ones that have been stealing food out of hunger or hurting their neighbors out of spite will be put to justice.
Everybody normally likes justice. Let's go ahead and hype up that bandwagon. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw another party and spread the word about how justice is gonna be so grand in Lutheria's name as soon as we round up all these varmints in the streets.
Alrighty, and over the next couple of weeks, more and more people come in. The temple actually turns into what seems to be a makeshift prison. More and more people are put into these cages that are constructed out of wood, tied up with whatever rope or cloth that you may have around, as there is now nigh on 200 souls filled into the temple. As you kind of try to keep up with it, give them enough food that they don't starve, but the time of the sacrifice draws nigh. As you ponder what may be done, you just hear a little voice on the outside, and you swear through the crowd outside of the temple. You see Kyra's visage just kind of looking at you and beckoning you forward.
I go towards Kyra's visage.
and you walk through the crowd and ultimately arrive at a hooded figure. The golden lord's kind of still holding up the cowl as she looks at you, those beautiful, just incandescent green eyes looking over at you. You've done well. Now watch as the sacrifice will be given. And you kind of like furrow your brows. You look towards the temple of what she's pointing as the clouds above start to gather and roil. And almost like a fog-like vortex builds above it as lightning just keeps striking down at the temple, exploding the shingles of the rooftop away, setting ablaze the wooden interior. As you hear all of the screams of the people that have been rounded up in there, as suddenly a blaze goes forward, the ground itself cracks open, and a fountain of lava just comes forth and then swallows the entire temple hole as the screams of the people just keep bellowing forth. All of these people are just in shock and awe as they look as the temple itself sinks down until barely the roof still tilted to the side like a corpse, the pillars sticking out like a rib cage sticking out of the ground. As you look in horror as the temple in which you grew up, through which you have worshipped for so long, just lays in ruin. And as you look to the side towards Kyra, instead, you see this old, sallowed woman, her skin sagging low, those green eyes still piercing with intensity. Her hair seems to be matted and green like that of seaweed. Her weird bluish skin, as it gets lower and lower, just looking back at you, she opens her mouth to show you this wicked smile, those pointed teeth, and you know what you are looking at is a hag. And as she says, "You fool, you have doomed not only yourself, but the temple of the goddess you claim to have worshipped. Thank you for everything you have done for the true gods of Thylea." And as she kind of falls backwards off of this little bench that you guys are in, into a bush, you try to go after her, but as you look there, there's just nothing. And then you hear gasps and cries all about you as people are pointing towards you. And that is when you hear the hiss of a snake, and you quickly look around trying to see the source, as suddenly the snake seems to be just in your view, just barely in your vision. And another snake, and more snakes. As you feel them writhing on your head, you just go, "No, no, 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 no," as you look at your hands, scaled as they are, turning green, as the curse of the Medusa has taken hold. You're cast out of the village for the things that you have done, for the doom that you've wrought, for the misdirection that you fell for. For weeks you travel on, getting kicked out of community after community, trying to make do. In the end, you set up a little hut in a very, very reclusive area. One night, there is a knock on the door. You almost don't open, but there have been travelers before that were wayward and lost, who needed mending, healing, who needed help, and gods be damned. Sidon and Lutheria the most, but all gods be damned if you are not going to help other mortals for the games that they play with you. You go to the door, you open it up, and you see this respectable, strong, black-skinned dragonborn. One completely blind eye looking at you. So what they said was true then?
Beg pardon?
Are you the Medusa that also heals?
I am she. And who are ye?
I am Little Dragon. But I have a question for you. If you could pay back the gods for what they did to you, would you take the opportunity?
At this point, I'm just interested in breaking this curse so I can get back to my mistress.
And who is your mistress?
the goddess Kyra.
Let's make a little deal, a quid pro quo. You help me with something that I need help with. In exchange, maybe we can find a way to lift this curse that you seem to be suffering. What's it?
I'm gonna need more details than this, because I've already learned my lesson in not prying a little bit more than I should.
Let's say I work for a very powerful person back in Mitros. They're known as the Lady of Coin. Ever heard of the Cult of the Snake?
I'm assuming yes. I would have, yeah.
Not necessarily. You didn't grow up in Mitros, but for all of you guys that would know about this, it is essentially a thieves guild built in Mitros.
Should I roll to see if I recognize?
Sure, make me a history check.
Okay. Although we haven't been rolling too great tonight, boys.
You've heard of them before.
Oh.
Both the Lady of Coin and the Cult of the Snake.
I don't know shit about my Bible, but I know about the history of this land.
Well, probably since you got a curse of the snake, you've probably had a few people go, "Oh, you must be a part of the cult of the snake." Like,
Yeah, right. That tracks.
yeah.
So you know she's powerful. She can do almost anything. You put enough coin into something, you get it done.
And what is it that you think she can do for me? You think she can just bring it, take me back to the way it was, or what can she do with this power for me?
Whatever you want. Do you want
And
to
what
return
is
back
it
to
she's
normal?
What is it she's looking to have done in return?
Let's just say that a certain madman has been trying to bring back dragons, and the Lady of Coin is not too keen on that happening, so we are trying to put a stop to that.
Well, I mean, dragons burning down the countryside doesn't necessarily sound relevant to anybody's interest, especially the nightly festivities for the goddess Kyra. So, okay. I mean, go on.
Very well, I'll explain on the way. We will have to bring you in a crate just so that the Centurions don't ask too many questions. Assume that you understand.
Am I at least going to be let out to hunt? Or
Of
to use
course.
facilities?
Anything.
Or am I
you
going to
need.
step in the socks of my own excrement?
No, we are not so base as to make you do anything like this.
Okay. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and climb in the box.
All right. And after a week's or so travel, you finally, having been let out, been fed grapes and wine, and more grapes and more wine, and pretty much just that's your diet apparently. You ultimately arrive in the city of
Were there
Mitros.
fans?
Huh?
Were there men and fans for me?
They were not fanning fans, but they did let you hunt whenever you wanted to outside of the city. As you are smuggled in, much like Tyrion in Game of Thrones. Also come out of the box as you climb out now. We're back to the main line with Crane, as you just kind of like and just throw up from all of the wine that you had consumed and all the shaking that had just occurred, and you kind of like right yourself and just kind of look at it and wipe it off on your robes. You look around and you see the stunning young woman that is Crane.
So Sully spouts off a bunch of things like, if you look at a Medusa, they will curse you and you will turn to dirt and fall apart. That's what he says. So it's almost accurate, but then it's slightly off. And Crane will say, "Little dragon, are we safe?
We're safe. She is.
Are they trained?"
She can speak for herself.
gonna shoot a sharp look at the dude that says that I'm gonna turn her into dirt and say you might want to check your facts.
He doesn't look at you. He's very studious. Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't say anything to you. He doesn't want to get cursed.
Anyway, we're going to take all... Well, what about the rest of the team? Is it just going to be Ukraine? Who's going to go into the ring?
Sully's just shaking his head. Absolutely
he's
not.
definitely out.
Boots is also
Boots is already watching the wind out the window. Sax, he wants to definitely. We'll see if he gets to. Oh no, wait! I've got an idea. Crane says, "Well, Sax was disqualified for the Games for Life for what he did last year, or last games.
What did you do?
So he's out."
Sax just goes,
I guess the fishhook is not allowed. It's my favorite move.
It was not pretty. You don't want to see it. Don't ask to see it. Sax is already going to go to show him. No, Sax. We'll get in a bar fight later.
Augustus is looking for a team of heroes, and for some reason the number 6 is holy to the Oracle. So, we're going to find 4 other people then. You and you, stay put. Enjoy yourselves. It's on the lady.
Thank you, little dragon. That is very generous. Please give my best wishes to the lady, as always. May she live forever and be wealthy beyond imagining.
Stop with the climbing into crevices thing. I like you without it.
As we fast forward... Go ahead.
I was going to say, and I'm just going to say, can you make sure that these 4 others aren't as ignorant? Very pointedly at the Sax person.
No guarantees. I'm sorry.
Crane will say, no, what am I doing? Okay, you, what was your name again?
Which one?
I am Crane. Excuse me, to Casaria.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna offer up that my name's Casaria as well. Casaria.
Crane will offer you out a fist, like a bro fist. And you hear Boots like hiss as if like a warning to stop. And as you look at him when he makes that sound, he shies away again and stands behind Sax, who's like twice his size and twice his width. Yeah, I'll keep holding a fist out to bump if you want to.
I'll give a fist bump and then I'll bat away at a couple of snakes that try to bite at the hand that's extended.
I'll pull my hand away quickly as they snap at me.
Alrighty. As we go back, we see Terem set into harbor. Off of the boat, multiple people go. The sailors go their one way. A couple of the people that had used the Terem to get all the way to Mitros kind of go off the other path. And there is just you, Ro, and you, Yanni, standing next to each other, kind of looking at each other like foreigners in a land, with the only familiarity being the bond that you guys built over the past week.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's it. I was going to say, best be on our way, Yanni.
Do you know where we're going? I've never been here before.
Have I been here before, David?
Oh, sure.
In my travels?
For sure.
I'm probably pretty familiar with the area.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would head like straight for like, I expect there's a place for like the people who are going to be competing to stay.
Mm-hmm.
I would try to find.
There's all of these like essentially like tent tent villages. It's just like Woodstock, but much more bro-y, right? If the taste of a protein shake had a look, that is what these tent cities kind of are. And there are all of these like bodybuilder types and gladiators and all this other stuff kind of walking around. And there's you almost towering half a head over the tallest of all of them, and then there's this tiny ass Yanni just walking right beside you, and it's almost comical to look at that height differential between the two of you guys.
I think
walking
I'm
side by side.
roughly the size of your thigh in every dimension.
But you
Let's
make
be
your
on our
way.
way.
You make your way through the tent city and ultimately come upon what is like this little bit of a setup, and you hear calls like, "Gladiators wanted! Anyone that wants to sign up, there is going to be gold to be had after you compete in the ring. You are going to be performing before King Acastus himself, and of course, the goddess Valus." And like they're just kind of crying forth as Ro, you think, might as well also make coin off of the thing that I love doing.
Can you guys hear that? No.
No.
Come on, Yanni. Let's see if we can find that archery contest you were looking for.
Okay, I'll go with you. Thank you, Ro.
Alrighty.
If there's a line, I'll wait in line. Otherwise, I'll walk right up.
Okay. Yeah, there's a line for maybe 10 or so minutes. Ultimately, as you step up, you see this, again, this big black dragonborn, big old scratch over the right eye. He just goes, "Now you are exactly what I'm looking for. Are you guys a package deal?" As there's definitely doubt as he looks at you, Yanni.
I'm gonna duck behind Ro's thigh.
Yes. Where he goes, I go. I'm his bodyguard.
And the dragonborn actually laughs at that. Is it?
Will you wanting to fight with me?
I think that's.
I'm asking you, Yanni. I just want to make sure that you're good to go on the battlefield with me.
Sure. But I fight at range.
And I hold my bow up.
Oh, that is fine. In the ring, especially if it's to the death, most things are allowed. Welcome on board. You're going to be entering as Team Snake. As you guys are led back to the same kind of shadowy place, and there you see indeed Crane and a Gorgon. Now, as
like
at the
locker room type area, like a kind of a green
no,
room.
it's the same place where you first met a little dragon.
Oh,
and
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Meanwhile, walking down the promenade now, Lyra, you kind of folded over and like you have your wings as tight to your body and as low as possible, as you have like what looks like a pack and just like a big old cloth kind of wrapped around to make you look kind of like a hunchy old woman instead, trying to hide your wings as best as possible. Brisa, for the most part, unless people spot your irises, you can blend in pretty well with the humans. As you guys are walking through, and you find yourselves on the center promenade of Mitros. Again, the same display of these statues across. As you think, Temple of the Five or Temple of Sidon, either of those two must do what I need, right?
Would probably, since I just technically broke the the Oath of the Dryad, I'll probably lean towards the Temple of the Five, right? It's kind of like, just murking waters a little bit even more. So
it's like church shopping, you go like Lutheran one Sunday, then you might as well give the Mormons a try next week, and then the Romans figured it out, might as well try Roman Catholic, whatever,
Yeah.
So as you go through and like approach the Temple of the Five, Lyra, you certainly are getting leery of the attention you may draw as you kind of just hang outside for a while. As Brisa, you kind of walk in there by yourself, walking up the steps. Ultimately, there's actually a long line of parishioners that are seeking to be speaking with some of the priests there. As you sit down and have a conversation describing what happened to you, it's just like a tisk-tissing.
Well, when you make a promise, when you make an oath, you do not break it, young mistress.
I know. It's just, I didn't think it was gonna be breaking the oath, and I know. I messed up. I'm sorry, but can you do anything about it?
We may be able to. We must, of course, ask permission of the gods, and of course there is going to be a certain sacrifice that needs to be given, ideally in the form of diamond. As such, are you prepared to pay what is necessary for this day?
How much is a diamond? Is it? I have 10 gold pieces. If 10 gold pieces is a diamond, I can give you the 10 gold pieces. That seems
The
fair.
next time you seek to break an oath with a god backing it up, you might want to consider having coin first. It costs 2,000 gold to take care of a curse like the one that seems to have affected you.
What's the reward for this competition again? About 2,500 gold?
Yeah, something like that. And as you kind of go back out and you tell Lyra about it, there's this little spindly guy that approaches you guys, and he just goes,
Hey, you. You look like you might need some coin.
I'm just outside counting the 10 gold that I also have.
Yeah, we do need coin. Do you have coin that you're willing to share with us?
Sure.
is this little greasy looking human, kind of like male pattern baldness, but it's like it's almost like this phallic shape that is left of his hair, and then just goes whoop in the back there, as he's wearing kind of like these very nice kind of like blue wrappings and toga around him, as he finally goes like,
Yeah, but you might have to earn it. You and your siren friend both.
Lyra, you kind of like tense up a little bit as this human called you out for what you are.
Yeah, I'll kind of shrink down even further and try and just not be seen.
What is it that you would have us do?
Oh, well, you know of the great games, yes?
I've never been. You know, I've heard the racket. You know, all the way up in the mountains, but I've never been.
Well, great games are truly great. What you would be competing in is, of course, a little bit of gladiatorial combat. You seem to be of strong make, and, well, everyone knows how powerful a siren can be in combat. Maybe we can come to an agreement as far as a small business loan? Yes.
I can do that. That's fine. A lot of fighting never hurt anyone. I can fight some people.
Good. Well, we're going to need, of course, an oath of service from both of you that you will do this. And once that oath is given, we will take care of this little curse of yours.
And so all I have to say is that I'll fight for you?
You have to swear it before the gods. So you'd make another oath that if you break that, you would get a second curse in replacement. It seems like a lot of the business is backed up by these kind of god oaths in this world.
Oathception.
But I don't have to win the games, right? I just have to fight in the games?
Oh, yes, of course. But of course, do your best. We pay you to succeed, hopefully.
Okay. And I'll look towards Lyra and kind of look at her. Is that okay with you?
Well, I feel like we have to win to get the money.
He said he would pay us regardless. He said he'd pay us now, right?
Yes, we will make arrangements with the temple on your behalf. That is what you seek, yes?
It is.
Good.
I will help.
Awesome. She'll be super excited.
Alrighty. As you guys get led back into the temple, there seems to be some kind of underhanded, shady dealing as a scroll is put across the table towards the priest. The priest casts some kind of magic on you, and you feel like a weight has been lifted off of your chest and shoulders as you can finally breathe fully again. The curse lifted, but not until after you have sworn another oath, placing your hands inside of the hands of the man as he makes you make the oath.
Repeat after me. I, your name.
I, Brissa.
Swear upon my life, honor, and with the gods at witness.
Swear upon my life, honor, and the gods at witness.
That I am going to compete before King Acastus.
that I'm going to compete before King Augustus.
In the great games as a gladiator.
In the great games as a gladiator.
As part of the team of the snake.
As part of the team of the snake.
I do this under threat of curse.
I do this under threat of curse.
I'm in full function of my mental capabilities.
I'm in full function of my mental capabilities.
Man, these odes are very thorough.
And this is what happens when you have a lawyer as your DM.
I tell you what, I'm over here as a witch in real life, and I'm like, this sounds like a contract. No.
Yep. And so it continues on until you finally swear the oath, and then suddenly it seems to kind of like
the gods really don't want any loopholes.
Yeah.
I didn't know you read the fine print.
No, that's in my Descendant to Avernus campaign. There's going to be infernal contracts in that one. But as you guys progress with that one, you make the new oath. You're ultimately led into this little shabby building as well, and arrive maybe 2 minutes after Yanni and Ro, you guys did, and you guys are kind of sizing each other up. That Minotaur, who's about 9 inches smaller than you are, Ro, is just kind of looking at you like,
Oh, would be very angry. Would want to prove that he's 9 inches bigger in spirit.
I'm gonna start practicing some maneuvers with my greatsword. Make some room.
All right,
As you guys doing push-ups.
As you guys are all now gathered in this little building, Little Dragon goes,
all right, make yourselves ready. In the evening, you're going to compete in front of the king. You're going to be part of the team of the snake. Who wants to be the face of this little group of heroes? Foretold.
She's the pretty one. And I point at Crane. She can be the face.
Crane just gives a confident nod towards the rest of the group, not reveling in it and not denying it either.
Very well. Crane, when the time comes, make sure that you announce you're part of the team of the snake. Understood?
Dragon, it will be my honor.
Good. Well, whatever you need to do to prepare yourselves, maybe get to know each other, your capabilities. I hear this fight is going to be particularly challenging.
Perhaps a little coin to, get some armor upgrades. I see a few of these guys look a bit shabby, like they've been living in the slums down the block from me, but...
No, nothing beforehand. I want you to show up. I've heard what happened with one of your crew before. Got a payment beforehand and skipped town. We're still looking for them in Astoria, by the way.
Look, if you find them, they owe me $12 too, so you tell me when you know anything.
12 male deer? That's quite a hunting trip.
You should have seen the other guy.
Well, I'll leave you to it then. We will have little outfits for all of you when the time comes. Just let me know when you're ready.
As Little Dragon leaves and the rest of these mobsters kind of get out of the building as well. It's not just the 6 of you guys.
All the tension releases from Crane, even though she was acting confident. All the tension is gone. Okay. Now, we fight, I guess.
Any idea?
Sax definitely wants to, but Crane says, no, together as a team. We are a crew now. What are your skills? And he points to the other nymph.
Brissa will pull out her halberd and be like, I'm pretty good with this, and she'll twirl around, and she's like, I can poke things from afar, and I can whack it with the other side as well. So I'm good with my pole arm.
Whacking with a stick. Okay. Next. I'm not prompting.
I'm an expert archer with my stinger, and if they get too close, I poke them with my little prick, and I pull out a dagger.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm also a perpetual 12-year-old in real life.
It's true.
I'll just weave the threads through my fingers and just say, I am working for the fates.
Okay. Fate being on our side is a great thing. The fates. Wait, are the fates more Thylean or Dragonlord in
Thylean.
terms of Thylean? Yes. Great. The fates have always had Thylea's back.
And front.
They're both of them. I look towards the non-snake person because I've met the snake person.
And I'll taking a look around. I'll just like take a look at my team, my squad mates, and I'll say just stay out of my way and should be safe, and we'll make it through this. Any idea?
We all look. Go on.
Any idea who we'll be fighting?
Crane and her team would probably have the most knowledge of the Thylean games growing up in the city. They probably snuck over the fence and got in the arena a couple times as kids. But I don't know the specifics, so Crane will explain it, but David will.
Yeah.
Is it meant to be a secret, David? If that's fine, I'm just wondering if we have any clue
on how the games happen. Nah, I mean,
just in terms of who we expect to be fighting. Like if there's a bracket somewhere that had been posted or something. I don't know.
they're essentially exhibition games that go different ranks. It is surprising that an entry level team would be competing in front of King Acastus, which gives you a little hope, just because usually that means that the unknowns are going to be thrown against some kind of a champion or something so that they can really show off and be badass about it, right? So you can expect probably a tough fight.
We'll be sure to give it to him.
What about you? What can you do looking towards the water nymph? Have I ever seen it before? David,
have you ever seen a nymph like her before?
Yeah.
No.
Well, there is nobody like me. But she will. The flow of her hair, which is a side part down, and it flows like her image on the screen. The water from that continues flowing down past her shoulders, and all that's left on top is a kind of a stream in the center of her head, like a mohawk. So it goes from what you see to a bit of a mohawk, and then the water flows down her arms and flows around her hands and forms some ice cestus, cestus on her hands, and she says, "Me and the water of this land, Thylea's rivers, guide me and grant me many powers. But I work best as a part of a team." And she points off to her other three, and they're all kind of off to the side of the room. Probably Sully getting a headlock from Sax, and Boots looking off to the side. And she says, I think we all have skills that can definitely come in handy here, and no matter what we face in the arena, I think we have a pretty good shot. Some of the teams last games were, I don't know, stinkers, and those Dragonlord guys, they're wimps. They're all money, no show, you know.
But the dragons are pretty cool. What? Just putting that one out there. Just.
Well, I have never
All
seen
right,
one.
So what do we call everybody? You can call me Malikos.
And I kind of shoot a quick wink at Ro.
And I say, you can call me Ro. And I wink back.
I'm Lyra, and I just say, does anyone think the actual snake should maybe be the face of the snake?
No one opposed?
I think we all look at Casaria at this point, who, you know, has been kind of left out of the group or off to the side of, like, because she's the most obviously cursed, right? Okay, actually, let me ask the group this. How do we think the general public feel about cursed people? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
have we been raised to avoid cursed people at all costs? Or have we been raised to think like anybody could become cursed and, you know, it's just unfortunate sometimes?
Seems pretty taboo, right? Like maybe someone with a contagious disease to be like comparable, I guess.
I mean, I was kind of expecting that I would get treated kind of like a leper with like leprosy or something.
Yeah.
Like when I
100%.
first chose to do so.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's how it's been played so far, and I didn't want to lean too far into that if it got uncomfortable. So, all good. Cool.
No. At this point, she pretty much expects that she's going to be like outcast, like outsider, always looking in. Like people are just going to treat her different.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, I think we all look towards you now and see what you have to say.
Well, I mean, at first I'm just gonna caution everybody and be like, well, don't y'all look at me all at once.
As a snake matches with each one of you guys.
Right. So, I mean, at this point, you know, but this is just par for the course. Is kind of what Kasari is gonna say. So, I mean, if you need to use me, then use me, I suppose. Just make sure that I get a clear shot at this man, because this is my one chance to maybe make this right.
Then do we think if we have a cursed person as like the face of our Olympic team, is that going to like put the crowd off our side kind of thing? Or do you think maybe we'll be like the underdog and be like, oh, did you hear there's like a Medusa in the team this year? Like,
yeah, you'll
shit.
be you'll be more of the novelty. Like you'll be the thing that stands out, but not necessarily for the good reasons. You'll be like P.D. Barnum at the very beginning of Greatest Showman.
And we're literally called the Snake.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting
all about
attention,
the performance.
Getting attention, whether good or bad, is okay by me.
You're gonna ham up the bad guy angle.
Cool.
Bad boy row.
And everyone's gonna know that we're the Cult of the Snake's entry, right? Like everyone's gonna know that we've been sent in by the you know, black market people.
Wait, what? Cult of the Snake is black market?
Oh, Crane says, "Oh, you didn't know the Cult of the Snake?"
I literally got off a boat today. Never been here before.
She rolls her eyes, and I think she looks towards Sully to give and says, "Sully, tell everybody about the Cult of the Snake."
Yeah, and he goes into the preliminary details. The Cult of the Snake is kind of like a borderline religious, but mostly just like focused on getting as much of the dark underbelly of Mitros under its control. For those of you familiar with it, it very much resembles the Zentarum in a certain way, and very obviously the people who created Odyssey of the Dragonlords kind of got inspiration from that, with you know, the winged snake being the symbol of the Zentarum. But yeah, the Cult of the Snake is known to assassinate the people that stand against it, to do, you know, slightly less murderous jobs when the coin is right for it. But nobody knows of the Lady of Coin and who exactly she is, but she's the one who runs it all.
Meh.
Don't like snakes much.
I've stayed unaffiliated so long, I guess I can do a little contract work.
Just as long as nobody promises any oaths. Nobody make any oaths to the Cult of the Snake. That would be the worst thing you could possibly do. They just keep putting more and more debt on you. You can never get yourself out. Nobody promises.
I don't make oaths to anybody.
I'll just look to Lyra and be like, kind of look at the ground, you know, so, you know.
No oaths. Got it. Check.
I gotta clip this later for posterity. Alrighty. As you guys
Are we to split this prize money? Are we going to split the prize money?
An even split is the usual way.
The three people behind you just kind of give you a cough, Crane.
Look, I give them a knowing nod. I've got a plan.
Very well.
Alrighty. As you guys get yourselves ready, have a meal or not a meal beforehand. As Casaria, you're told you better stay inside this building. They ultimately box you back up, and the five of you guys carry her through the boulevard, past the houses, through the 30-foot tall stone wall that surrounds Mitros, and into the eastern part, the eastern plain surrounding that. You see a bunch of like small villages and hovels all around, large fields just kind of stretching in all directions, but currently a bunch of those have just been completely left barren, as there's just hundreds upon hundreds of tents just all set up, and you see all of these makeshift, magically created arenas all throughout, as there are different noblemen betting on the people fighting in there. You guys actually see Little Dragon approach you guys once you're through the wall, and just goes,
"So you're all ready then?"
Yeah.
Duck behind Rose's leg again.
That's all I ever pay.
Think we're ready to go.
Very well.
There
Follow me.
There was a change of plan. Kisaria is going to be our face. We will back her up.
Whatever you
Jesus
decide.
sake.
Good choice.
From inside the box, you can just hear the snakes like going at it a little bit more. She's anxious about this whole ordeal and being the face, but you know, she's just going with it. So the snakes start acting up.
yeah. And as you guys head out, making your way through the tents and towards one of these like little stone arenas that just seem to have popped out of nothing into existence, you ultimately are led into this small fighting pit. And it is evening now. The light has kind of like dimmed away as you guys find yourselves in this little
Sweet.
arena. You see all of these little lights just kind of bobbing all about you guys, giving some light. You see some kind of like setup at the top there, some kind of a dais where you certainly can watch from. And as you obviously like look around, you see that more and more people start filling into all of these like stone seating areas all about, as the excitement starts to really grow. People are like starting to talk about what's inside the box, as Casaria, you certainly are still inside of your box at this point, essentially, unseen from the rest of the people.
We're the only team on the pitch.
Currently, yes. All right, the excitement gets louder and louder, more and more, as the seats are filling in with more and more people. You ultimately see as the crowd just goes crazy. As you see, just descending from the sky is this beautiful female figure. Let me make sure that the people in the stream can see this too. As you guys are standing there, you see as the figures that seem to be descending from the sky there are again this beautiful female figure that you at the very least, Casaria, recognize to be Valis, the goddess of wisdom. As she descends down, white robes, beautiful gold embroidery, and it's exactly what people are kind of like chanting all about. and they're just like reaching out to her, calling her her mother, calling her the descendant of Mitros and stuff like that. But then holding in her hand, almost just kind of like floating down with her, you see this strong-jawed, big bearded man, burly. As Crane, you certainly would recognize this to be King Acastus.
She scowls at him.
Yeah, and he
Dagger eye.
he's the the prime centurion. He is the one that psychic damage. He's the one who certainly leads all of the centurions of Mitros. As Valis, a superimposed voice, just shouts out towards the rest of the crowd and just goes, "My children, the time of the oath of peace is coming to an end. But that does not mean that our ways need to end, that what we have built here together is for naught. My husband and I have created a city that is stronger than the wanton will of Sidon and of Lutheria." There's more and more cries of that kind as Acastus just like overlooks the crowd and tries to like spot out people that clearly are not chanting loud enough. As Valis continues, Acastus was also blessed by Thalia herself, our goddess and mother of the land, with the gift of dragons. And the entire crowd just goes as all of these sandaled feet just stomp against the stone. As Acastus just puts up his hand and Valis just nods towards him. He stands up as he goes,
"The age of the Dragonlords has come again! These great games are of a special purpose this time around, to show the Titans that they do not rule us mortals. That if we are true to the 5 gods, if we're true to each other, if we're cognizant of the power that we hold, we can be the creators of our own destiny. The Oracle speaks of prophecy. The Oracle has foretold that heroes will come.
And again, the crowd just cheers.
These heroes will rise. And all of those heroes, I will offer to become my first sworn Dragonlords.
Brissa perks up and is like, "We gotta win."
I thought we were getting money.
This is better. This is better. This is better.
Okay.
Things are looking
You
up.
heroes in the making
He's now addressing you guys.
will fight champions and beasts alike, so that you may prove to the people around you that you truly are the heroes you claim to be. Be successful here today, and the gods
And he smiles at his wife, the goddess Valis.
will smile upon you. Now, fight!
And as he says that, you hear a as the portcullis behind you gets raised up, and you hear some kind of big old snorting noises coming from the darkness that is inside. And as 3 small-sized boars, average-sized, I should say, boars start rushing towards you, and then suddenly a much larger boar comes in to view behind that. We're gonna pick it up there next week. Alrighty, everybody. Thank you so much for watching as long as you guys did. And for those of you guys rewatching, I am so excited. Yeah, you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's just from the south from where you guys are at, and that's where we're going to pick it up next week. That's going to be super fun. I'm incredibly excited about Odyssey of the Dragonlords. One of the people that is in my Spelljammer campaign actually is running it for his people, and he says what he loves the most is that this campaign makes you feel like true heroes, like you have actual epic destinies that you live up towards, and I'm so excited. You guys are phenomenal. Absolutely. I cannot stress this enough. Like, you guys are the type of players that make a DM's heart soar. So thank you all for being in this campaign. Thank you for playing, and I don't want to rip off Matt Mercer too much, but is it Thursday yet? I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.